pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so as you can see, we're short a few trustees here. Trustee Millerick is on his way from San Francisco, so he'll be here later in the meeting. Trustee Aguila is sick this evening, and Trustee Mack is traveling for business, and he was just unable. Normally he calls in and is a part of the meeting, but he was unable to do that this time. So we're down to 4 of us, and we'll move along here. So if Trustee Scott can read out the closed session announcements.
Okay, so for announcements, with every respect of every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54956.9, Subdivision D1, Conference with Legal Counsel, Exiting Litigation, Rick Tucker versus Shalee Cunningham, Donald Scioli, NPAT, Novato NUSD, City of Novato, Civil Case Number 1401954. I'm going to read both of these, and then we're going to take a roll call piece after. And then with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9, Subdivision D1, Conference with Legal Counsel, Litigation, Rick Tucker versus Nevada Unified School District, Shalee Cunningham, Civil Case Number 1604508. And approval of the settlement was done, and we're going to take a roll call in closed session. The first motion was by Trustee Nell, and it was seconded by Trustee Cooper, but we're going to do a roll call here. So, Trustee Nell?
Aye.
Trustee Cooper?
Aye.
Trustee Butler?
Aye.
And Trustee Scott? Aye. So that's going to be 4-0 and 3 absent.
Okay, thank you.
No, I have one more.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I have one more. So item 3D, with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Government Code 54956.9, Conference with Legal Counsel, pending litigation, Coalition to Save San Marin versus Novato Unified School District, Marin County Superior Court, case number Civil 1702295, update, and no discussion.
Okay, thank you. We need approval of the agenda as is. I don't have any changes or anything, so just as it stands.
A question or
Yes.
point of order, do we wait till the next meeting to excuse an ill trustee, or do we do that tonight?
We don't have to excuse them anymore. We do a resolution at the next board meeting, and I
okay.
just announce that if they're ill or they're at jury duty, pretty much, or something that, or if they're on district business, let's say, then they're excused. And so Trustee Aguila will be excused from at the next board meeting.
So I'm prepared to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Nell is a first.
I'll second.
Okay, Trustee Scott is a second. All in favor? 4-0, 3 absent. Okay. And then if anybody would like to make a public comment on any item on the agenda or any item not on the agenda, please fill out a blue card, which is located in the foyer, and bring it up here to Sally, and we'll plug you in where you are able to speak either for an item that's on the agenda or not. And so now we get to the consent agenda. Does any trustee want to, I don't have any blue cards for consent. Any trustee want to pull anything? Okay.
But Madam President, I'm prepared
Okay.
to move.
Great.
Approval.
Okay, so
I'll
we have
second.
first by Trustee Cooper, second by Trustee Scott to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? 4-0, 3 absent. All right. We have our student presentations and presentation. We have Hill Education Center here. Kessa is here. Hi, Kessa.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for having us. So tonight we have Marin Oaks students and Mr. Mattern, and they're here to talk about the cooking class that was implemented by Mr. Mattern And I just have to say that I have some students that are really shy and are not happy about presenting, but they love the class so much that they were willing to be here to tell you about their experience. So I'm really proud of them and very thankful. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Mattern.
I think this is my slide, so we're good. Good evening, everybody. I'm John Mattern, and I'm a teacher at Marin Oaks. And specifically tonight, I'm the food teacher, or the cooking class teacher. And if you guys want to serve that galette, we brought you some galette tonight that we'd like to serve you while I'm talking. I know, thank you. Yes, we'll be back next week. So I know you want to hear from the kids, and I'm going to have the kids talk for sure. Maybe just behind would be even easier.
Yeah, either way.
Oh, either way is fine. But I just want to say that the cooking class story kind of starts with me last year. And I came to Marin Oaks from Sinaloa, and it was a difficult transition, we'll say. And then about halfway through the year, I found a way that I could really connect with the kids, and that was through food. As I was about halfway through the year, I started bringing in leftovers on Fridays, and the kids really liked that. And then they started requesting what I should bring in the next Friday, and they liked that even more. And then finally, they asked if I could help them to learn how to make some of the things that I was bringing in. And that was the idea for the cooking class about the middle of last year. And since then, we started a GoFundMe page, and we had generous donations from the community. We had the Ignacio Rotary, I have to say thank you so many times to them, donated the stovetop and range that we're using still. And the cooking class began at the beginning of this year, and we are about 15 students strong. We have a wait list of about 3 students. And we cook every Thursday, and then we serve our entire school on Fridays. We serve them lunch every Friday. So it's just turned into just a wonderful program, and we're very excited about it. And I'm going to have these kids tell you even more about it.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nicole Miranda, and I'm a junior at Marin Oaks. We're serving you our apple galette right now. Apple galette is a rustic version of an apple pie. We use the same crust as an apple pie, but the assembly is more simple, and the pie is just as good. You can make a galette out of many types of fruit, but apples and pears are most popular. It's like a little self-contained pie. Enjoy.
Good evening. My name is Joshua Turner. The general setup of this class is for us to get into class and look at the recipe. After we learn what our goal is for today, we usually break into groups. Sometimes we make the whole meal in small groups. So if it's lasagna, we'll have 6 lasagnas finished by the time class is over. The small groups are fun, and they allow us to make 6 different versions of the same dish. We always have the vegetarian option.
Good evening to all. My name is Annabelle, and I am a senior at Marin Oaks. And you're probably wondering what some of our dishes are. Mr. Mattern admits that his strengths lie in comfort food, and we admit that a lot of times we need comfort. You'll see here that we have some pictures of us making street tacos, mac and cheese, and meatballs. But some of our other dishes include chili, lasagna, minestrone soup, jambalaya, the apple galette, cake from scratch, enchiladas, Thanksgiving sides, and fresh marinara. So far, I'd say my favorite is the lasagna because I really enjoyed the process of making it.
Good evening. My name is Alexis Flores, and I'm a junior at Marin Oaks. One thing I wanted to comment on tonight was how the kitchen can bring people together. This is just one example. I had a best friend, and we kind of drifted apart. This year, we both enrolled in the cooking class, and we started bonding, talking by cutting potatoes. And we talked about how we used to always cook together, and then after the cooking class, it felt like we were friends again. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Damon, and I'm a junior at Marin Oaks High School. The future of the class looks good. We will definitely be having a class at Marin Oaks again. There's even talk of expanding the class to introduce Novato and San Marin High School students. The idea is in its early stages, but it might be that students at traditional high schools might use their 7th period to come over to Marin Oaks and take the cooking class for their elective. This would be an exciting partnership, and we look forward to the possibility. Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Wow.
Thank you guys so
Yeah.
much.
No, thank
Very-
you for the treat, and nicely done. Good presentation skills from the students. You did a great job here tonight. Yeah, thank you so much. Good job. And John, have you been able to present at the Rotary at all? Have you gone back to the Rotary at all? Yeah, just to present, like bring a couple kids and just show.
Thank you luncheon.
Oh, perfect. My husband's in that Rotary, so that's why. Yeah.
They were amazing.
Yeah, it was good. Good connection. Yeah.
You want to?
Way better than sunrise.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? It's really good. Yeah, I like it.
Oh, yeah, way better. Yeah.
She's eating.
Cookbook's coming next, right?
That'd be fun.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, our next presentation is the new North Marin Community Services. Cheryl Paddock, so you are up. Welcome. Do we have your presentation? Do you have a PowerPoint or something? Or? We're lickety split here.
Is there anything that
We
you wanna
can
flip?
we can do our board announcements, and
Okay.
then why don't you just sit right there, and then let's see if
Okay.
we can.
I'll text
And that
them.
won't take very long either, but we can really just fit you in where. If you really want us to wait, we will. I have no problem with that. Yeah, no problem. Okay, let's do announcements. Unfortunately, we don't have any school board student trustees here this evening. So, Trustee Nell, any announcements?
I'll just let you guys know that I did attend the school fuel board meeting, and most of the focus at this point is getting ready for the tour of Novato, and they're looking for volunteers as usual, and different sites are at different stages in getting ready to set up and raise funds for that event. So just a reminder to everybody, the grand tour is coming, and I forgot the date, so.
I think
May
it's the
something,
5th.
May-
Yeah.
5th, or, yeah, May 5th.
Are they going to send out, do you know if they discussed sending out an email? Typically, I get an email and I sign up for what I'm going to volunteer as, but
Yes, we'll definitely remind it again. I'm just we're just getting that going and
Okay. I just
dividing
wanna
up the
make sure I
chores of who's gonna do
block it out.
what. And they're always looking for volunteers, and everything from setup to cleanup.
Yeah, great.
Oh, well, then I'll just also let you know I attended the district advisory committee meeting yesterday, where we discussed closing points of LCAP that's going to be coming forward. And we also discussed, I don't know if you'll see this, but there's been a graphic designed about our graduate profile that's also coming forward. So that was a good meeting, and I also attended a construction subcommittee meeting where we discussed some options on the upcoming bond construction project. So it's been a
Great.
busy time.
Thank you for going yesterday to district advisory. I had to miss that, so thank you. I'm glad you were there. Trustee Cooper?
Yeah, this week I went to the Gate Parent Night, and really well attended and good
Good.
presentation, so,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. Trustee Scott?
on March 22nd, I went to the TAM meeting, and I want to say that was very well attended. There were trustees from all over Marin County. Mary Jane Burke was there. Many of the superintendents were there. Our superintendent, Jim Hogaboom, also spoke. And I was disappointed with the outcome, but I mean, I understand that budget cuts are necessary, but I'm hoping that things will work out. What I really was thankful for was that we had lots of parents get up and speak, and they were incredibly passionate,
very articulate, and I really felt that they made their point as to how needed the program is. And the program I'm talking about is the crossing guards at the various school sites that were on the list to be cut. So I attended that. Thank you.
School Fuel also had their Art Smart Showcase, and I was able to get by that and check the art out. I believe some of it is right in here now. So when you look around, this is what was there. Really, really a good year. You know, it tends to ebb and flow each year, but this was a really good year of the artwork. You have to look at that eagle back there behind everybody in the back wall. Is amazing. And that's a student that it came to our district, I believe. Yeah, newcomer last year. So amazing work that he's done. I also went to the TAM board as well, and the parents, I believe that spoke, were mostly from our district, if I recall. They were well-spoken and did a great job. The Novato High baseball and softball had their fundraiser, crab feed. I was able to go. Trustee Scott was there and Trustee Max, so they had 3 trustees there, and that was just a lot of fun. Crab feeds are always fun. And then I was able to catch the San Jose Middle School 6th grade James and the Giant Peach performance. It was so cute. I mean, they did such a great job. 15 kids, I think, all 6th graders. They just made do with what they had, very creative in their props and costumes. Really well done, and it was just an hour and 10 minutes, just enough to enjoy it. And they have more coming up in the spring here as well, some other performances.
Can I just tag on to that? I went to that performance as well, and I want to just put a shout out to Mariah Fisher, our teacher out there. She
correct.
painted the whole room black. It looks amazing. It's got great stage. She's got a little wire there with all the curtains. I was really impressed by the room. She really made it feel like it was a theater. So hats off to her. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. So last week, some of us had the opportunity to go to CABE, which is the California Association for Bilingual Educators up in Sacramento. And so Yvonne and his crew of Melissa and Amber and Leslie all helped out and volunteered during it. And we also had the dual immersion teachers, the 4 dual immersion teachers from Linwood attend, and that was great for them because there was like a 2-day intensive how to get going with dual immersion. So that was just a great conference. I think they had over 200 sessions, many on how to improve the performance of our English language learners. The state has come out with a new roadmap, which we'll make sure all of you guys get. There's even a pocket version of it, but it's really good. It's based on these 4 principles, one of which is that we should be looking at our students as assets and the assets they bring to our schools instead of what deficits do they have that we need to overcome. So just a lot of great networking with some other folks, and we were a honorary chair thanks to Yvonne and all his work, so got to address. There was about 4,000 people that were there, so it was a pretty big effort. Well done. Thanks, Yvonne, for all the work you guys did. And then tomorrow night is our Wednesday forum, so we're having a community meeting going over the LCAP. We'll talk about crossing guards, and we'll do the budget, so that'll be right here tomorrow night at 6:30. Hope to see you there.
Thank you. Cheryl, is everybody here? Yeah, okay. Cheryl Paddock with the North Marine Community Services. I have to constantly remind ourselves of the new name.
Well, thank you so much for having us. I brought my crew with me so we could give you a comprehensive update. I've been with the Nevada Youth Center for 9.5 years, and some of you might know in the audience and the trustees, most of you I'm sure know that the Nevada Youth Center and Nevada Human Needs Center merged on January 1st, and we changed our name to North Marin Community Services. We feel the name better reflects all of the comprehensive services that are offered, and we're going to tell you about those today. So I have 3 of our managers here, and Nevada Unified has been our key partner we've been in existence 45 years. And so I just want to start off and thank you all for the work that you do and our partnership, and Superintendent Hogaboom. We're partnering often, Yvonne, Leslie, through our media campaigns, Karen Valentine, and just you have an amazing staff, and we feel very welcome on the school campuses and at the district office. So thank you very much. So I'll start the presentation. All right, so we've been here 45 years, and we are truly a human service nonprofit. We're a 501c3, and we partner with a lot of other nonprofits in Novato and throughout the county. We've changed our name to North Marin because we do offer services mostly in Novato, but we serve all the way through to San Rafael. We also serve families in Sonoma. So today you're going to hear about some of our major program areas and a few client success stories. You can see on the screen some of the services that we address. We are now an anti-poverty service organization, which we're very proud of that. Our board, we went through about 1.5 years of conversations around where we felt gaps in Nevada were, and anti-poverty services for low-income families, minority families, underserved families was certainly a gap, as you know, through a lot of the work that happens at the school district. And so we are positioning ourselves in that way, and you'll hear about some of our case management services that align with the need for more poverty services. Education and enrichment is an area that we address through our early childhood education program, through our after-school enrichment program, and we also have a lot of, we work hard for community service hours through high schoolers on campus. So if anyone's looking in the audience or on television through tapings, if you're looking for community service hours for graduation requirement, we'd love to hear from you, and that's certainly something we can offer. We have a teen clinic, so we're often looking at how can we support teens in their reproductive health, and you'll hear about that during the presentation. We also look at racial inequity and community connectedness, and really ensuring that minority communities and underserved communities know how to access resources so that they have a more equitable start and access to services. And we've been honored to work with NUSD in attending some of the seminars that you have offered. And I'm trying to remember the name of the one. Was it Leading? The National Equity Project. Yeah, so thank you so much. You had some of our staff at that training, and we've offered some as well recently. So our new vision is a strong community with opportunities for all. We're serving about 4,800 youth, families, adults, and seniors annually. And our mission is to empower youth, adults, and families in our diverse community to achieve well-being, growth, and success. And we're pretty excited about all the work that's going on. We have a multi-generational continuum of services starting at 12 months of age all the way through to seniors. Our budget, you can see on the handout that we distributed for this year, because it was half a year of merging, we're about $3 million budget, and so into next fiscal year will be about a $4 million budget. And our services are offered still at the 680 Wilson Avenue building, and now at where Novato Human Needs used to be at 1907, as well as the teen clinic on Redwood Boulevard. Our Monday teen clinic is in the Marin Community Clinics building now versus where it used to be over next to Lucky's. And then on Novato Unified School District campuses, and you're going to hear about some of those programs today. The wonderful thing about nonprofits is that we can ebb and flow with the need. We're limber that way, and so through our strategic planning process, we did look at where are the gaps that are happening, and so anti-poverty service was certainly a gap that showed up. A few years ago, I was here, I remember when LCAP and LCFF funding occurred, and we talked about the family liaison model, and that was something that we built together with NUSD, and then the school district was fortunate to have a new funding source. So that's the beauty in our partnership, is we can really change and look for new funding areas as funding becomes available for the unified district. And so we try to partner with as many public sectors as we can and look for government grants, look for foundation grants, and work with individuals, businesses, and service clubs. And Novato is a very special community in that we have a lot of nonprofits here, a lot of service clubs, and people are so much about community and success for youth and families that we really have renewed energy around what we're doing here. And so we are continuing to partner with NUSD in many new ways, and we're excited about that as well. So on the screen, you can see our major program areas, where we have 3 program areas, and If you have your handout and you want to open it to the middle section, you can see, I'm not going to go through it all, but basically our three major areas are child development, health and wellness, and family and community engagement. And we have about 60 staff and 300 volunteers who contribute about 10,000 hours a year, and we're serving 4,800 clients. And on the back page, you'll see our budget for this year, who we're serving, and that's about over 60% are Latino residents, and about a quarter, 25% are Caucasian, and then multiracial. And we really work hard to hire as many bilingual staff as we can. Over half our staff are Spanish speaking now, and we're very proud about that. So one of the ways in which we partner is through our mental health services, and we've been partnering for over 25 years in that area. Originally, it was through School Link Services, and now we're funding, the funding is coming through our LCAP, and so we appreciate being on your advisory board and being able to represent that work. So today we have here Norman Herring, who's our new Director of Mental Health Programs. He started last summer, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about our school-based counseling program. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. So our agency is at 5 elementary schools and 2 middle schools. Pleasant Valley, Rancho, Lew Sutton, Linwood, Loma Verde, and middle schools San Jose and Sinaloa. I have a staff of 10 therapists, 2 of whom are bilingual English-Spanish, Spanish-English. We get a variety of presenting issues. This data is based on partial year, so we don't have the full year yet. But thus far, about 32% of those referrals are due to stress and anxiety. 19% school behavior problems, which are typically issues around vaping, marijuana use, or alcohol use. Depression is next at 14%. Parent-child issues, 9%. And kind of a mixture of anger management, grief, loss, and trauma at another 9%. These issues are what the school identifies as problems that the children are having, the children and youth. So the principal and or resource teachers, other teachers identify. But often once we begin counseling with the students, we find out that there's much more going on, and sometimes it's different from what is observed on the outside. So for example, we had 2 referrals were made for suicidal thinking. It turns out that there were an additional 6 beyond that. That's a total of at least 8 that we know of who came in with thinking about hurting themselves. The bulk of those are at the middle school level, although there's at least 1 instance of suicidal thinking and another of attempted harm, self-harm, at the elementary school level. One other point I want to make is last December when our community suffered the devastating loss of the 2 young men at each high school. We teamed up with BACR and with the district to provide grief and crisis counseling at the high schools. We did that on a pro bono basis. Year to date, we've served 322 students and family members. Our family systems approach, which is no one person has a problem in isolation. We are all part of a system. What's beneficial is that the interdepartmental collaboration between case management and Latino services, where the whole family is addressed from child through grandparents, not grandchildren, no, sorry. Anyway, I want to thank you and introduce my colleague Berta Campos Anichetti, our Director of Latino Services.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. Great to see you all. Thanks for having us.
Hi, Berta.
Well, as you know, I think most of you already know me for being the director of the Promotores program. I have a new title now, and I'm actually the director of Latino services at our new agency. And part of what I do is I work with promotores, and what we do is we identify Latino leaders in our community, and it's about, I already passed it. Oh, we didn't pass the slide. There we go. Okay, thank you. Part of what we do is that we identify Latino leaders in the community, natural leaders, and they are Spanish-speaking. We have a total of 16 of them working with us as volunteers. 14 of them are actually from Novato, and they work by participating in training so we can enhance their natural skills they already have and enhance their leadership skills. And they decided to focus on 2 different areas. One of them is to reduce underage drinking in partnership with the Healthy Novato initiative. We work together in trying to educate families and encourage families to be more conscious of this issue in town. And we also provide different approaches in how we do the education in the community. We offer what we call cafecitos, is when we have hosted conversations at promotores' homes, at our volunteers' homes, and we talk about access and what happens when we have our cultural and family celebrations. We like to have a lot of parties and celebrations, and we want to make sure that we know how to deal with alcohol and how to have celebrations with and without alcohol, so we can model to the kids the importance of doing that. We also provide presentations at community groups. A lot of those groups happen to be ELACs in our schools. We provide many of different presentations related to alcohol, to marijuana use, brain development, and how alcohol and drugs affects that, and similar topics as requested, a little bit of parenting classes. We also have a skill-based 3-session parenting class that we teach in Spanish, and we facilitate that, and that's actually starting April 19th. So if anybody's interested in that, it's done completely in Spanish. I have flyers with me if you're interested. And I also, we also do outreach in the community. We go to community events, and we bring this fun health education wheel where we just approach the subject, a little bit of mental health. The second focus of the promotoras have chosen is to deal with mental health and emotional health. And we provide a lot of emotional support with training for the promotores to support the community with stress and issues. Sometimes there's a lot of myths about approaching therapy and connecting to services. And so what we do is we try to provide support, an extra pair of ears for people, and then connect them to services when the client is ready. Sometimes, at times, there are waiting lists to see bilingual therapists, and then we can provide a little bit of support while they're waiting on that list. Or sometimes we support concurrently. We don't have a waiting list right now for our bilingual services, so that's good to know. But at times there are waiting lists. And so that's another service that we provide. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is that we also provide in our high schools newcomers curriculum, a 5-session that we do with students in Spanish. And it's a curriculum that specifically focuses on supporting new immigrant students. And we discuss issues about their mental health, what is it to migrate. I myself, as an immigrant and a person who came here in high school with no English, can really talk to them about what that was like. And even though every experience is unique, there's a little bit of connection there between them and me, and Daniela, who is also an immigrant, and she's a case manager who co-facilitates the group with me. And we also have a media campaign, and many of you have seen, with the support of Healthy Novato, our prom campaign is about to come out every year. We also do a media campaign around marijuana youth use, and we have done other bullying campaigns and things like that. So we do some media campaigns in town. I'm sorry? Oh, it's out there. The bullying campaign posters are on the window. And very soon you'll see our prom campaign and graduation campaign in the bus stops, shelters. The last thing I wanted to mention is our legal services. We have a partnership with community agencies in Marin, and we provide hours of legal services. Canal Alliance comes over to our site in Novato Boulevard to provide legal appointments twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. And also Family and Children Law Center come over also at the same place, and they provide family law, custody, and support with that. So people can reach to us for that. So thank you so much for your time. And now I want to introduce my coworker, Kara.
And Sally, how much time do we have? Don't worry, I won't be excessive. Couple more minutes. Okay. Let's see if I can work this. My name is Kara Werner, and I'm the Director of Programs and Organization Development. And I have the pleasure of overseeing our case management programs and adolescent health and wellness programs. So first I'm going to tell you about our case management programs. We have 3 programs. One is community support services, which you see along the bottom right here. And then we have one called Amigos and one called TFI, or Thriving Families. Our community support services are really our foundational safety net services, and they're who serve the most people in Novato, and they're what serves people who come in crisis. So that's really our safety net. We're seeing people in crisis who may be homeless, who may be experiencing an illness and not be able to cover their rent or mortgage for that month, who may not have quite enough to make ends meet, so they're coming into our weekly food pantry. Or just need temporary emergency assistance of one sort or another. So those services are all designed to help people who are in crisis stabilize. Our Amigos program is actually just for people who are referred by Child and Family Services, and that's a county-wide program. And so they're referred when their case is closed, but they may still really be struggling to make ends meet and provide a home in which there's not another incidence of abuse or neglect. So we really help them stabilize and create a healthier family environment. We do home visits for that program and a lot of parenting education, as well as all of the resources of our community support services as well. And then our Thriving Families initiative is for those, often they've come in through community support services, but they've stabilized and now they really want to grow their capacity and their self-sufficiency. So these are folks who are motivated and just want some extra help and support and perhaps going back to school or job searching, getting to a place where they can be fully self-sufficient. And so it's really a pipeline that we're trying to create from crisis to stability to self-sufficiency. So that's sort of our ideal change that we're looking for with this combination of programs. So just a couple of instances of client successes that we've had recently. We actually had a family go from homelessness to complete self-sufficiency in a year. So they came in, they had multiple challenges. They had gone through a really extreme crisis situation. They didn't have a lot of family support. And our case managers work to bring all of our resources, but also to connect them to other resources available in the community. So case managers are fantastic. They're just a web of support. And they brought all of that to this family who was able to first stabilize, but then actually, because one of the advantages they had is that the father did have advanced education, and so he was finally able to get a job in his field, and now they don't need any support, not government assistance, nothing. They are fully self-sufficient again. So that was fantastic. For our rental assistance program, we see a lot of folks who are living kind of paycheck to paycheck, and then they have one thing happen, like an illness, for example, or they're in a shared living situation because of housing costs are so high, and one roommate leaves and they can't get another roommate in there in time. And, you know, it's these things that seem sort of small sometimes and really big at other times, but we're able to prevent a lot of homelessness with this program. We had a case recently where this adult person was experiencing cancer, but he was also caring for his father who needed a lot of caring. And even though this person had health insurance, they couldn't work while they were going through cancer treatment. And so if he didn't get that support from us around rental assistance, then we might have seen two people who were, you know, homeless at that point. So that's the type of situations that we see a lot of regularly here in Novato. And then I'll just say really quickly a little bit about our adolescent health and wellness services, especially because they're so connected to the schools. As Cheryl mentioned, we do a Monday drop-in teen clinic in collaboration with Marin Community Clinics, and it's a reproductive health and mental health teen clinic. Most of the teens come in looking for reproductive health services, STI testing, birth control, reproductive health counseling of some sort, but we integrate our mental health and behavioral health screening. So we're talking to them about any symptoms they may be experiencing in terms of their mental health, any drug use, any alcohol use. And then we have a case manager and a counselor right on site who are doing that and can immediately begin doing a brief intervention with them on the spot, as well as ongoing counseling. We have a team of about 8 peer health educators who are at both of the main high schools, the Novato High and San Marin, and they're our ambassadors. And all of us go into the high school health classes and do presentations, and we do a little bit of reproductive health education as a supplement to what the health teachers are doing. And as Berta mentioned, we have the newcomer groups as well at the high schools. So that's been a fantastic partnership. We have a fabulously low rate of teen births in Novato. Like the rate that it has dropped, it's dropped around the country, but it's dropped extremely in Novato. I think the last year we have data for, there were 9, and I don't think any of them were under 17. So, you know, whatever combination of work that we're all doing here, it's working in that front. So thank you. Cheryl, did you want to wrap up?
Thank you. It's a wrap. Thank you for having us. You can see and you heard from our wonderful managers just the fantastic work that's happening between our organization, and much of it is in collaboration with all of you and with your staff and the good work that happens at the school district. So we look forward to partnering with you under the North Marin Community Services, and we're happy to answer any questions that you might have about content in the presentation.
Trustee Scott.
I have a couple questions around the counseling. First, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate so much the pro bono that you provided at the high school. So just thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that those were some tragic situations that happened on our campus, and just thank you for the pro bono work. That's amazing. My question is, you know, surrounding that with, you know, loss and pain can have lasting effects and they can linger. What are we doing to follow up with these kids 6 months after something? I mean, I'd just like you to explain to me, what is the follow-up? I mean, I know that you're initially out on the campuses, but what's the follow-up on that? I'm not familiar.
Well, we as an agency are available to follow up. I mean, there's no mechanism for us to do that within the district itself, because specifically at the high schools, because we're not working in the high schools. But we're certainly available, and I've spoken with people at the district in terms of our availability for ongoing counseling should the need arise. But on an ongoing basis, we don't have a specific program to address that.
Well, you Okay. I just wasn't sure if that was student initiated or if your counselors reached back out. I just wondered what the circle back around was or what that looked like, because I don't know.
Yeah, so at the high school level, the contractors are Bay Area Community Resources, and we have offered to support with some of the wait lists if that's a conversation that comes up. But typically, either the student is self-reporting and asking to see a counselor, or the teachers or administrators may do a referral.
Okay.
And so there can be several ways in which a student might end up in counseling.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Miller, and then Trustee Nell.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. I'm sorry I was late for the total presentation.
We tried to wait.
There's a medical community medical facility in Novato and other parts of Marin that the Marin Community Foundations help support with offices down in Redwood. Do you collaborate with them? I think they have a dental facility and a medical facility. I know you don't have medical offices, but how does the relationship work?
Well, that if you're talking about Marin Community Clinics, which
Yes.
it sounds like you are.
I am. I'm just wasn't able to recall the name.
So they're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we've actually, since the beginning of Novato Wellness Center, originally we partnered with Planned Parenthood, and then we started partnering with Marin Community Clinics. And once we transitioned from the site here across the street, we actually moved in to their clinic, and the dental facility that you're talking about, which is across the parking lot, that's where the teen clinic is, where you'll see a green star on Mondays, and that's where our clinic is. And so they've offered us free space for the clinic.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's
Trustee Nell?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to take a minute to thank you. I don't think that, from my perspective, people recognize how important an agency like yours is to a community. So I just wanted to thank all of you for the work you do. It's the things I've observed over time, and just speaking from a business person's perspective, there's agencies like yours all throughout the county that provide services that help the community in many ways. So it's just so important, the work that you guys do. I wish that I'm really glad that you work with our kids in our schools, etc. It's such a broad spectrum of things that you guys have grown to do. I know I'm repetitive, but I'm just in awe of the amount of services that you provide to our community and the work that you do for people, and how that really does affect the economy, the rest of us culturally, and our standard of living. Just having you guys in our community is so important. So I just wanted to thank you all sincerely for doing the work you do.
Thank you. And I do have to give credit to Superintendent Hogaboom, and I feel that the work that's happened around cultural competence has really opened up many conversations between the district and ourselves and other nonprofits, and people have looked at Novato as a model community in terms of starting conversations and facing looking at the work that's not easy, as you're describing, and but then also linking it, like the managers do, to evidence-based practices so that we can attract grant funding. So it's challenging work and it's rewarding work, and we're fortunate to attract the staff that we do because of the difference that's made with the people we serve.
Trustee Miller?
I'd like to make a historic point. Novato is lucky to have the two agencies that formed your North Marin Community Service, Novato Human Needs, and the North Marin Child Center. There are stories that have been told to me about people who have come to this town and for some reason or other were financially unable to even put food on the table. And they went, this is 30 years ago, went to your predecessor agencies and got enough food on the table so that they could organize their lives and start companies and run their own businesses and have become successful members of this community. Mm-hmm. Novato's got the kind of help the neighbor kind of view that's embedded in this community, and you manifest that in your work, and it is an extraordinary, it makes Novato an extraordinary place to live and be part of a community. And the legacy you guys are carrying forward just is noteworthy, that it's been that long lived and it's still vital and part of the community. And I'd like to just thank everybody in the audience for the kind of work that you put forward that makes it possible for this to be the kind of town it is. It's extraordinary work, and it's just not in every community that is true.
Well, and the conversation's changing. You'll see for those of you on Novato in the Know and other social media sites, which I'm sure Leslie follows those conversations too. But, you know, Bert and I were talking the other day and just commenting on how impressed we are that the conversation is shifting, the acceptance around people of color and immigrants. And so we're really proud about the work that our community is doing to be inclusive.
Trustee Cooper? Yeah?
Not to be too redundant, but I do thank you very much in your organization for everything you do, serving the members of our community who are most in need. And I remember, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I came by for a visit. I think Cindy Clinton and I came by and toured, and I would, you remember, you were there. It was great. It was good to kind of get out and see what you guys do firsthand. So I would suggest if any of us want to do that, I'm sure we would be welcome.
Thank you. And we'll be partnering with the family liaisons, and we really want to make sure that people know about the services at the 1907 Nevada Boulevard building, because I don't think Human Needs partnered as much with the district. And so we really want to make sure the people that you have on your leadership teams and yourselves as trustees, if you'd like to come over for a tour, we'd love to show you what's happening there and the services that Kara was describing.
Good, and you would facilitate that for us, right?
Sure. Sally and I will talk.
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you. You know, educating kids is partnerships, about partnerships, and this is one of the very successful partnership that we have with you. And we look forward to your presentation every year. It's always valuable to us to know exactly what's going on and the services you provide. It's always in awe. We're always in awe of what you guys do. So thank you to your team. And I would encourage both of you to do a Marin Voice piece. This is a positive conversation, a positive of what partnerships are about and how we're serving kids in Nevada Unified, and not just it's beyond the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So something to think about. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having us. Thank you.
All right, welcome, Trustee Millerick. No, I'm glad you came. Thank you for making it work and just showing up when you can get here. Yeah. I have no blue cards for anything right now, for anything on the agenda or anything. I have nothing for non-agenda public comment. So we're going to move on to our discussion action item.
Do we have someone that expressed interest?
Yes, we wanted to speak. I haven't filled out the card yet. Okay, so come around. Gretchen, I'll call your name out. Just fill it out when you're done and bring it up to Sally, just so we have it on record. Is it for something that's on the agenda? Okay, so then fill it out and we'll get to it. Yeah, I'm going to start with the first item now on discussion action. So thank you for catching that. Okay, our first item, discussion action. This is a resolution. This is a resolution commitment to climate change action. And let me just give the trustees a little bit of a background. I received an email from a student at Novato High, a junior. She is in the Earth Club, president of the Earth Club, and she brought this to my attention, and I thought, wow, this is something we need to do. This is all in regards, there's a grassroots group. It's called Schools for Climate Action. They have a whole website and everything, and they're reaching out to school districts and trustees and PTAs and asking them to look at this resolution and possibly approve it at their board meetings. So I looked it over and I thought, you know, we're doing much of this, and climate change is obviously present. It's here. It's a threat to us, and unfortunately our children today will have to handle it in the future here. And so some of the things that we have done, we've expressed in this resolution on the back side. some of the things that we are already doing as a district, which I think is important, is we do the Walk to Enroll to School program. We're participating in that. We have done our energy. We've moved over to Marine Clean Energy. We did that in 2015. We have a pretty robust recycling program. We saw that from the San Jose middle school kids that were here presenting that. They even are trying to improve that. And then our facilities and anything that we do, we try to, it says we strive, and we do. We strive to support efficient facilities for both new construction and retrofits. We do the best we can there. Doesn't mean that we're going to do everything that way, but we definitely put it as part of the decision making. So I know, I'm assuming, are you guys from the Earth Club? Yeah. So two of you want to speak? Yeah. So why don't you come up to the mic? And at some point, you would have to fill out a blue card. I hate to do all the homework part of it, but just do it after you're done speaking. Just fill out a blue card, which is over there on that cart behind the TV there. There's blue cards. Okay. So just go ahead and speak. And I appreciate you being here. And it was your friend Lucy. Yeah, Lucy London is the. She's right you're here. Gosh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you. I apologize. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Great. So when you're ready, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kelly Tillman. I'm 17 and a junior at Novato High School. I am the co-president and co-founder of Novato High Earth Club, and I'm also a recent member of Schools for Climate Action and Citizens Climate Lobby. My co-founder and co-president Lucy London is also here in the audience, as well as supporters of Novato High Earth Club and members of Citizens Climate Lobby and Schools for Climate Action. Right there. You guys can stand up or do whatever. Thank you so much for considering a resolution for climate action. Climate change is a children's issue and a human rights issue. As school board members, it is necessary that you recognize this and protect students in every way you can. By passing this resolution, you are playing a pivotal role in enacting important change. The first school boards in Marin to support climate action. We are aware and grateful for the environmentally friendly actions you have already taken, including Novato's switch from PG&E as an energy provider to Marin Clean Energy, and for the implementation of solar panels in some of our schools. We are also extremely thankful for your recycling programs in schools, your support for carpooling and bike-to-school programs, and the installation of low-flow toilets. We also greatly benefit from the emphasis on climate change studies in schools. Because of this action schools will take as a result of this resolution, our generation will be better prepared to deal with the inevitable effects of climate change in the future. Members of Novato High Earth Club are in the midst of gaining green certification for our school through the Green Business Program. This involves changing infrastructure and acting to reduce waste, increase water and energy conservation, and overall sustainability in order to be recognized as a green school in Marin. After speaking to our principal, Matt Baldwin, the Director of Maintenance, Transportation, and Operations for the county, and the Sustainability Coordinator, our club members, teachers, parents, and many more, we have found that there is an overwhelming recognition for the dangerous effects of climate change and support for climate action. By signing this resolution, you are sending a message to our community and congressional representatives that Novato is in support of climate action. We are asking that from this resolution you advocate for climate action as a nonpartisan political issue to cities in Marin and other counties. It is dire that we support climate action now. We as a county can't wait any longer, and the earth will not either. We've already seen the devastating effects of climate change through the local fires and natural disasters worldwide. If climate change goes ignored, it will severely affect my generation's right to a free, healthy, and prosperous future. There's a quote that I believe rings true. We are the first generation to feel the effects of climate change, and we are the last generation that can do something about it. Thank you for protecting and supporting your students, representing the needs for your constituents, and serving as a role model for other communities to influence climate policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Rudy Lautner. I'm a senior at Novato High School and also a member of Earth Club and the Schools for Climate Action. As my friend Kelly has expressed to you the Schools for Climate Action resolution, I'm here to explain what Earth Club has done and already to support more eco-friendly policies. Now, I would like to thank Novato High and the school board for the installation of solar panels back in 2016. We appreciate the steps Novato High has taken in energy efficiency, and Earth Club is here to build on that momentum. The mission of Earth Club is to promote sustainability, climate change awareness, and love for the earth. To follow through on our mission, we have encouraged the implementation of compost and recycling at our school, as well as minimizing everyday plastic usage. On a different scale, we have held fundraisers, selling handmade soaps, lotions, reusable lunch bags, baked goods, and raising money for both hurricane and fire relief after the disasters that devastated both Puerto Rico and Sonoma County, respectively. And last month, we held actually, exactly a month ago, we held the Art for Earth fundraiser concert in Petaluma, where we brought the community together through song and art to promote our mission and shed light on the need for more environmentally friendly practices in our community and in the communities of the nation and world. Throughout the year, we have raised over $2,000, and a portion of it is going to the necessary costs in getting Novato High School green certified. The Marin County Green Business Program is a set of standards that get schools sustainable in water, waste, and energy conservation. Some of the requirements are quite simple, from leaving mowed grass on lawns to using electronic forms and documents to the encouragement of sustainable practices at school. Aside from the solar panels, Novato High School has also installed hydration stations recently that conserve water and minimize plastic water bottle usage. With the Marin County Green Business Program as our guide, the next goal for Earth Club is installing tri-bin systems to make it more efficient in differentiating trash, compost, and recycling. As you can see, the students and administration at Novato High School have already taken steps in the promotion of sustainable practices. We hope that our actions will engage, inspire, and empower more schools in our districts and beyond to adopt similar practices in the name of environmental awareness. And with the passing of the Schools for Climate Action resolution, we are sure to be successful in achieving our mission of sustainability. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice. Thank you. Do we have, yeah, come on up. Yeah, you can just hand that to Sally, your blue card. Yeah, there you go.
My name is Richard Bailey. I'm a resident of Novato. I'm not in high school anymore, but my two children went through the schools here, and I thank you for that. They're both in their 30s now. But I just wanted to briefly speak out as an adult in favor of this resolution, and also to apologize for my generation. We didn't know what we were doing when we put so much carbon in the air. And as you proceed with the education, I would really encourage you to stick with the nonpartisan approach. I'm also a member of Marin County chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm on the steering committee. But it needs to be nonpartisan because our country is too divided. So let's just keep it that way. This is a nonpartisan issue. The other point I want to make is climate affects everybody. I mean, no matter what career you go into, insurance, architecture, military, medical, climate is going to affect you, and you're going to be able to have an effect on people. So keep it broad picture, get the basics, learn how bad it is, what we can do about it, and go from there. So thank you for supporting the resolution.
Thank you. All right, so bring it back to the board. But let me first say to the Earth Club, we hear many clubs come and go at high schools, and you guys are making a difference. A lot of them don't, nothing ever happens. I've had 2 kids go through high school, and this is a club that's you're really doing a great job, and just to hear even more about it here. So hats off to you for making an effort and making a difference. So thank you. Okay, trustees, any comment? Trustee Miller.
Not a question, congratulations. It's work that has to be done, and as one of the speakers pointed out, this is a nonpartisan issue. This is a matter of just solid public works and the way things need to be done as we move forward as a society. So I'm going to make a couple of suggestions to us and to you. The first is we have a request before the North Marin Water District in order to extend the recycle water from the golf course up to San Jose Middle School and the College of Marin, and I would like to get an update on that project. I believe if the project's approved, it'll be funded by state money, not local money, I believe. So I would like our CFO to get a status on that, bring it back for our review. That's one. The second is there is plans to put recycled water up to Novato High and Rancho. The plans are over at the North Marin Water District, and I suggest you guys call them and ask them what the status is of what the recycled water plan is to Novato High School. I don't think it's scheduled up to San Marin. I think that's too far away in terms of elevation and distance, but it's certainly on its way to Novato, and it's a matter of timing. And I think a phone call and a meeting would be perfectly appropriate on your behalf since it's your campus. And then lastly, we have a new solid waste carrier in Novato. Recology purchased the contract from North Marin, Mr. Ratto's company up in Petaluma. And so Mike San Giacomo is the president of Recology in San Francisco. They carry about 30% of the garbage in the state of California. And a letter to Mr. San Giacomo asking him to direct their attention to Novato and make sure that they're doing as good a program here as they do in the rest of their territories would be useful. And then meet with the North Marin Sanitary District, which provides the recycled water, and they have a board, and you should go before their board and ask them to adopt the same resolution. So there's a to-do list for you guys. I think you're well on your way. We're clearly going to support it, but I think there's other public agencies, including the Board of Supervisors, that you ought to find some time and have the conversation with them as well.
Great, Ross. Thank you. Trustee Cooper? Trustee Nell, did you have it? No. Somebody go.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys. This is outstanding. It's exactly what needs to happen now, and we hear every day in the news, and today and yesterday even more bad news. So regarding the EPA and that. So you guys are on the right track. I'm glad to see you're making a difference. Do you is San Marin High School, do you know if there's your counterparts over there doing anything similar? Is the word out across town or no? That'd be great, because really, if you're onto something great, which you are, let's maybe drum up support over there. That'd be great. And I'd like to see the recycling program expand. Did you talk about a 3? So what are the 3? So green waste, recycle, and landfill. And we have to purchase cans to make that, facilitate that, make that happen. Is that right? Or there's education in that.
That's standard in San Francisco where colleges do others.
Yeah.
So you should be able to.
Maybe they could help fund some of that. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, you guys. It's been a pleasure seeing you.
Trustee Nell, did you have a comment or no?
Well, I'm going to support the resolution. Okay. I'm relieved to see more young people like yourselves standing up and speaking for yourselves. As it was said before, it's a divided country, and I quite frankly think we let you down, my generation. So I'm glad that you're stepping up, and I'll support you as much as I can. I don't want to go over a laundry list of what you might or might not do, but if you ever feel like you need help from this board, I'm hoping you'll ask.
I'll second. Okay. Are you want to be a first, Trustee Nell?
I'll move the resolution. Sure.
Okay. And a second? Trustee Scott is a second. All in favor to approve this resolution? Great. 4-0. 3 absent. And 5-0. Yeah. You're here. Thank you. 5-0. 2 absent. And we all know trustees in Marin County. I know Ross Valley has passed this already, but if we can reach out to our fellow trustees in the county and encourage them, we can do that. We'll do that for sure. Thank you so much. All right.
Yes, we want a picture.
That'd be good.
Then we can put it on the website.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just come up right here. Maybe probably just one row of students, right? Leslie is the pro.
Stand up. Yeah.
our next item is the adult education and graduation requirements, and Karen Valentine is here. Hi, Karen.
Thank you so much for having us, and I'm going to get the little thing going here. And there it is. Okay, so thank you so much for having us. Novato Adult Education, and what we're using kind of as our motto is transforming lives through lifelong learning, because it really makes a difference to be able to continue learning as you grow older. So I wanted to give you kind of a snapshot of, whoops, that's okay, of our adult education, of the staff. All the staff is part-time. You have one administrator, that's me, and it's part-time, it's part of my job. There's 7 teachers, 2 counselors, one is a bilingual counselor. All staff hold master's degrees. So that's something that I don't think everybody knew. Even our staff was surprised that we all held master's degrees. 3 staff have administrative credentials, 2 staff are bilingual, and that's English and Spanish, and 2 staff have BCLAD credentials, and combined we have 112 years in education. So we're a pretty strong group there.
We need new batteries? Oh,
There we go. So we wanted to also give you a snapshot of our students. We have 180 unduplicated students, and so I'm going to try and get this to work here. So I have to do this. And then it comes to here. So this was included in your packet, and it's kind of a rundown of our students and in what programs they're in. So you'll see that we have a high school diploma track. HSE stands for high school equivalency, which would be your GED test and your HiSET test. Currently, we're only doing the GED prep. We do it in English and in Spanish. Another big group within our program is the ESL beginning, and that stands for English as a Second Language. So we have the beginning and intermediate classes. So we have a bridge to GED classes, and that's for students that are testing below a 6th grade level. When students enter our program, they go through an orientation, and they're given what's called a CASAS test, and that's standard across the state. That test tells us where their skill levels are. They're tested in both English, in English and in math. And so when we get those levels, we're then able to place them in a class that's appropriate to their learning level and help bring their skills up. So sometimes our students come in because they've been out of school for a while and they think, I can jump right into school, which we do want them to jump into school, but we don't want to frustrate them, so we want to serve them at their level and help bring them forward. We also have a breakdown of our students. The predominant 82% are Hispanic, 11% Caucasian, and 5.5% African American, and then we have some Asian and some Middle Eastern students as well. Since January, we just started holding weekly orientations. 1 week it's in English, 1 week it's in Spanish, and since then we've increased in our enrollment, and just from the orientations since January, we've had 56 students, and actually last night we just enrolled 6 more students.
Wow, impressive.
Part of my learning curve here is how I do this, so let's see if I can go back to here. And, oh, it didn't, I had to scroll through because it didn't do it again. So, oh, let me take it back here. And we did get a sign this year, which was a big bonus for having people find our school, because it was kind of a challenge for folks to find it, and that is being modeled by our counselor, Anna McGee, who is here with me tonight, and she's really been instrumental in helping me move our programs forward. That is an actual picture of our graduates from last year.
Nice.
So how we help close the equity gap in Novato Unified School District. We help with the GED preparation. So for some students, we do get some students in that are newcomers who are 17 and a half. Sometimes they start at the comprehensive high school, but because they have to work or different kind of issues, once they turn 18, we're then able to bring them into the adult education program, and we can prepare them in Spanish to take the GED in Spanish, which will then help them when it comes to employment and then transferring on. Some students have been educated in their home country, but when they come here, having to learn a new language, having to learn a whole new system is very difficult, and to catch up in a short amount of time, so we're able to provide that. The Bridge to GED, as I talked about, was a little bit of those students who are reading at kind of the 6th grade level. Sometimes we get students that have undiagnosed IEPs. So for whatever reason, they didn't get the support they needed in the comprehensive high schools. Sometimes they drop out, but when they come to us, we try and support them where they are and build their skills. We have ESL in the evening and in the daytime, and part of that is to help the adults that come to our community that need to learn language to be able to function in their jobs, or even to help their children in school. We do have some parents in our program who are, and I was surprised to learn that most of them had older children. I was expecting to see younger children, but their children were in high school and stuff, and they were coming now to get a GED to then be able to help them with work and to go on through school. So, and we have our high school completion enrollment. Most of the students that we get into our high school diploma program transition from our comprehensive high schools. So for whatever reason, they weren't able to get the units in time. Sometimes there were behavioral issues, any kind of thing, and we bring them on over and we help them finish out their high school diploma. And then we also get students from San Rafael, that they closed their adult education program, unfortunately. So when their students age out, they have nowhere to go, but then they do come to us. Students who need 40 credits or less are the ones who we track into our high school diploma program. If they need more than 40 credits, we track them into our GED program, and that's to help them kind of get through the program in a little bit faster. Currently also in the state, the GED is recognized as an equivalent to a high school diploma. So it is the same as a high school diploma, okay? And they've calibrated at passing levels. So if they pass at the highest level, the recommendation is that they earn college credits for passing at those highest levels. Okay, so what our current issue is and what we're asking is that our current graduation requirement, which is at 220, usually hinders a lot of our students who transition into us. The majority of that is coming from electives, and that's where we want to reduce our graduation requirement. We want to keep all the core graduation requirements the same, so the English would remain the same, science remains the same, social studies remains the same. The only thing that we want to reduce is the electives, because we don't have a wide variety to be able to give these students the experience that would earn elective credits. We do give them some credits for work. We do give them credits for you know, various community activities and different things that they do, but we are limited in what we can do. What we would also like to do with the reduction of that is to include a 5-credit college or career readiness program that they have to do, where they would actually decide on what they want to do when they leave our program, and they would research it, make a presentation, and then also present that to us, so that way we know that they've researched it, kind of like a next steps, and it gives them a blueprint for how they're going to move forward. So others, Bay Area schools, we did a study of other Bay Area schools and what their graduation requirements are. So you'll see that a lot of them have gone to the 180. There is a couple of exceptions. TAM Adult School is at 200 and Mount Diablo is at 200, but the majority of the adult schools in our area are at 180, and that's what we're proposing that we go to. Okay, and the purpose for this amendment is, as I said, it's to assist our students in graduating and then being able to go on to college. We don't want to hinder them, we want to help them and help them transition. And we believe that the Next Steps project will give them a clear pathway and a clear vision of where they want to go. So what's next for Novato Adult School? So with the board approval, we will amend our graduation requirements to 180. I have submitted all the documentation to become a Pearson VUE testing center, and what that is that will allow us to give the GED as well as the whole Pearson suite, depending on the number of hours that we're open. We're going to continue to work with the Marin County Adult Education Consortium, and all adult schools and community colleges within California now are all part of consortiums. Our consortium is the Marin County Consortium, and with that we're working with COM, we're working with TAM Adult Schools, Shoreline, San Rafael, and the Marin County Office of Education. The goal of the consortium is to make sure that students transition through school and then into college and or career, and looking at career and also career ladders. So starting at some of those low-level careers and then working through and going up. We want to increase increase our class offerings to include a citizenship class, because some of our students have expressed interest in that, and to continue to grow and serve the Novato Unified School District family and students. Okay, and we also have flyers of our consortium. These are our flyers for the adult ed program, and so you can take one and see, and then you'll see that there's also the Marin Consortium is listed on the bottom. So are there any questions?
Yeah, any questions from Trustee Cooper and then Trustee Millerick?
Thanks, Karen, very much. This is very, very useful. I have to start off with, there's nothing like attending a graduation from our adult education school. I did that last year with a couple trustees, and there's nothing. They are so happy to be given that support through that program, and finally graduate and get a GED. And so for us to be in, obviously some school districts are eliminating the program. So good that we're doing it. I do have one question, and that is there a state standard or a minimum? Is it 180? Is that
140 is the state minimum.
140, okay. So
we're still above the state minimum.
All right, sounds good. That's all I have for now.
Okay, Trustee Millerick?
A couple of questions. One, also, I support the change, so that's not an issue. Later in the agenda, we're having a conversation about technology requirements for every one of our student grade levels. And if you look at the technology requirements, they're pretty strong. Have you had a chance to review those relative to how they would apply to the adult education population you're working with?
I have not, but we do use a lot of digital curriculum and also some of the materials that in order for the students to prep for the GED, which is only given on the computer now. They have to actually go through, there is a computer program for them to go through to learn how to navigate through the program. So that's part of the GED, and it's built in it as part of the competencies that come through with that test, because it is only delivered on the computer now.
Okay, so I would ask that you take a look at those requirements for what a graduating senior has achieved after 12, 13 years with the district, and it's a strong standard, and you might need to make some adjustments in what you're doing. So first that.
Sure.
Second, your suggestion for a college-ready curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is extraordinarily important. I'm working at the college level now, and kids come in without rudimentary skills. They can't type a word processing document, they can't articulate verbally, and they can't do a spreadsheet. And those ought to be, some of those are technical, but some of those are just plain skills. They ought to be they ought to be able to stand up and express themselves. Mm-hmm. We have third graders that do it at this podium. Adult educator students ought to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. So I would like you to make sure that you think I support that notion. The next one's a financial question. I think it's for either Yancy or the superintendent. There's some state budgeting. There used to be state budgeting for adult education slots, and so the district earned money for every adult student that was educated, and I believe 30 years ago, the district gave away some of that benefit to the College of Marin, and I don't know all the history, but the question is, how much of this is reimbursed by state funding as we offer free courses for our adult learners, or how much of this is taken away from other programs that we offer?
I can answer that because currently adult ed is part of what's called AEBG, and that stands for Adult Education Block Grant within the state. And that's where kind of we have to be part of the consortiums to get the funds. The state delivers the funds to the consortium, and right now the College of Marin is the fiscal agent, and they decide the allocation to each area, each school that's offering an adult ed, and that's based on outcomes. So outcomes as far as how many students you have enrolled, how many programs you're offering, how you're meeting the goals within AEBG. And the state has set 7 program areas that we have to meet.
So so if we meet them all, which I'm sure you will, what is the financial picture that this program does? How much does it cost us to offer it, and how much revenue does it bring into the district? This board needs to know those answers.
At this point, it doesn't, the revenue that comes in is specifically dedicated for adult education. It cannot be used for other programs. So it's dedicated specifically to advancing the adult education programs. The allocation comes from the consortium from the College of Marin. We present a budget to them, and then they review it and see how we're meeting our goals and meeting our standards of what we have to do, and then we're given an allocation based on that.
So for the decision to drop units down to 180, it's not part of the conversation, but I would request the superintendent get us a financial analysis so we know if we're losing $1 a student or we're making $10 a student or whatever the deal is, so we have a clear understanding at this board table what the financial impacts of the program are. I mean, if we got 180, your slides and that's still up to 180 students, that's wonderful, but it's free to them, it's not free. The money's coming from somewhere, and I just would like to have a report of how that works so we can assess it on a financial basis like we do everything else in this district.
It's in the block grant. It's in what we get.
That's
yeah,
all
and
we need. We need the numbers.
information.
That's
Sure.
you know. It's so, Madam President. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Scott.
Actually, Tom asked one of my questions around the hours, but my second question is, you mentioned citizen class and that came from the students. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what that looks like?
So with citizenship, what we'd have to also do is look at being WIOA funded, and WIOA stands for Workforce Investment Opportunities Act, and that's a federal program. So we can start looking into the WIOA approved curriculum, and that again is money that would come from the federal government to run these programs. And so part of the curriculum is set by WIOA and by the government, and so then we'd start building the curriculum based on that.
So is that possible additional revenue that would come directly to NUSD, or would that go to the college and then?
It would be additional revenue, but it would be slated only for adult education.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Trustee No.
I'm in support of the recommendation to lower the credit requirement for graduation. I think basically what you're saying here is you'd like to align the course for the issues of the day. And I think that there's wisdom to that. I think that the population that this type of program serves is vital. It's important. These individuals, I'm assuming, are amazing that they're actually going to come back and apply themselves as young adults in most cases. And so I think that we want to do the best that we can to accommodate that. So I'm in favor of the program, and I like the fact that you want to reconfigure things to make it work better for the population we serve. But I do sort of also come down on the side of that we kind of need the money too. So that's not your preview necessarily, so maybe the request through the president needs to be to the superintendent and the chief financial officer that when we're looking at programs like this, making decisions, we have to have some budget numbers, whether they're total numbers or where the money comes from, et cetera. So that's not why you're here, but it's something that we would like to have go along.
We can get that for you. I do have the budget numbers as far as, what we get from the consortium. And then, as I say, we prepare the budget and submit it to the College of Marin. So we can get copies of that for you.
All right, appreciate that, and I think it's wonderful. I look forward to supporting it and helping you through fruition.
Thank you.
All right. And if you could provide your PowerPoint and your weekly update, that would be great. What you presented.
Sure.
You had some data points on there that I'm interested in, and you can put the budget stuff in there as well.
Okay.
The financials in there. That would be great. Yeah. Yeah. All right. This is an action item. Again, this is decreasing the number of credits from 220 to 180 for the adult ed program. Okay, so we have a first by trustee Miller,
I'll second.
a second by trustee Nell. All in favor? Thank you. 5-0, 2 absent. Great. Thank you, Karen, very much.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, our next item is the moving of the Gate self-contained classroom from Linwood Elementary School to Olive Elementary School, beginning in the fall of the 2018-19 school year. And we are starting off with Yvonne Chavez is here to present this.
All right, good evening. Just once again, I would like to thank Karen Valentine and our counselor Anna. Great work. It's impressive that we do whatever it takes to serve all of our students, and adults as well. I would like to invite our principal from Olive, Elizabeth Olenek, to come on up. I also want to thank our team. Gate is all hands on deck. We have our district team. That's Julia's part of it, as well as Michelle Stevens, Jen Larson. And then, working together so that we're also supporting every program that we have, from remediation to acceleration to Gate, you name it. At the last meeting that we had here about a week ago, I want to thank Tom Cooper was present for that meeting. It was well attended with the parents that we were here, and great questions that came up as well in terms of moving the Gate program from Linwood to Olive. So this evening you have all the details in your board cover on your updates. So the superintendent and staff are recommending approval to move both 4th and 5th grade Gate self-contained classes from Linwood Elementary School to Olive Elementary School campus beginning in the fall of 2018-19 school year.
Can you just go over the support regarding the Gate leadership team and how the conversation occurred there? I think it's important to hear that information.
Yes, that's a. So based on the cover letter that we have, that you have in front of you, that's also on the agenda, this is something that we have taken great consideration, mainly around the idea of Linwood becoming a Spanish dual immersion school moving forward. As we looked at the locations, one of the ideal locations that we took into consideration in terms of size was Olive Elementary. This decision came through a brainstorm with the Gate leadership team on looking at different options. One of the options was Olive, as well as the timeline. What would be the timeline? Would it be 4th grade moving only, or would it be 4th and 5th? And so we looked at about 5 different options for timeline. The Gate leadership team determined that it would be best to keep both the 4th and 5th grade classes together, moving both classes to the new location. As the team, the Gate leadership also felt that this would provide students with a familiar support system and allow teachers the ability to continue to collaborate among each other. So in terms of timeline, the group chose that this fall coming of 2018 would be the best. And in terms of the logistics over at Olive, I know that this Monday, Elizabeth hosted her first tour, and I'll let her talk a little bit more about that tour and upcoming tours and just what she's doing at Olive Elementary to create that, as they have a whole inclusive culture there at their school.
Good evening. So on Monday, we had, just ballparking it, probably 27, 30 parents. Due to the nature of and the large group of families, we did not go into the classrooms. Obviously, taking that many students into classrooms that they probably wouldn't even be seeing, because those aren't the classrooms that their children are going to be placed, but just to get an idea of what our school setting was like, where things were, and what Olive is about in terms of our culture, because every school has a unique and vibrant culture. So I was just sharing some of the activities that we had at our school. Tomorrow, our GATE teachers are coming over for the PLC and going to meet with our 4th and 5th grade team in PLC. Later on in the spring, we're going to invite the GATE teachers to a staff meeting. I've already arranged with Andy a visit so I can go over and see what is currently occurring at Linwood in the GATE program. Just now looking at logistics, I have a meeting on Friday with the district to look at logistics and space and moving all of the equipment and curriculum over. So trying to figure out those nuts and bolts activities. Any questions?
Okay, yeah, questions from the board. Trustee, oh yes, Superintendent Hogaboom.
So I think, so 2 quick things. One, I think that the timing of this really was something that we were open to the GATE leadership team about. It didn't make a big difference to the district whether this got moved this year, next year, or frankly even the year after. So we really wanted to ask for their input. Did the current 4th graders who are already at Linwood, did those parents want to stay through 5th grade so they didn't have to leave? And really, I think what we heard was that, hey, if you're going to move it, move everybody now. The 2 classes like being together. Sooner is better than later, which I think also helps Linwood, so Linwood could make the transition to DI, and then they don't, it's not one more program that's on their school site. So the timing was really, bless you, the timing was really something we took input from the parents on, because again, that was something that we were flexible on. Secondly, I'd really like to thank Elizabeth for stepping up, and part of the culture of Olive is a very inclusive culture, and so it's important to Elizabeth and I think her staff that the GATE program aren't just 2 classes doing their own things at Olive, but they really integrate them as much as they can into the culture of the school. And Elizabeth has mentioned that to me a few times, and I think that's really important. We don't want just a separate out there GATE program that's doing its own thing. We want to learn from the GATE students. We want them to learn from other students, and we certainly want to bring them into the culture of the school, whether that's science camp, which is a little bit different time than what Linwood did. So, and thanks for stepping up. It's, with the cutbacks we were making at the district office, there are a lot of activities that we're not going to be able to do anymore. And we just, losing 2 people plus a classified staff member, that's a lot of work that's being done. And so we're going to really have to rely on our principals to pick up some slack on some of these things, whether that's overseeing PE or music or GATE or maybe suspensions and expulsions or what have you. So kind of tap Elizabeth on the shoulder to help out, and she readily and enthusiastically agreed to the best of her ability. But I really appreciate that. And jumping in right away, immediately she went to the GATE parent meeting, which I think really helped a lot of our GATE parents feel like, well, what is this school? And she probably heard a lot of things about you that they wanted to find out about. So I just appreciate your stepping up to do that. So that's just a little bit more of the more recent history.
Great, appreciate that. Trustee Cooper and then Trustee Nell.
Quick one. Thanks, Elizabeth. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing him to tap you on your shoulder and taking it. So do you currently have 2 empty classrooms, or how's that gonna work?
Great question. So we're going to be looking creatively at our space. Currently, I have the luxury of having a school guidance counseling program in an entire classroom to themselves. Obviously, that is not going to happen next year.
Yep.
Looking at some possibilities, we do have still a computer lab, which basically only our kinder and our 1st grade students use. So possibly converting that to a classroom. I have a intervention teacher sharing a classroom with our occupational therapist program. So we have
several options.
We have several options.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. Great. Thank you. I'm looking, and I really want to commend everybody, Yvonne, and leading this charge and getting the GATE leadership team on one page, and I appreciate their support too. And I think this is the way to do it, so I support it.
Trustee Nell.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the process. I'm glad to hear that there was as much engagement with the parents and with staff and on the Olive site. What we're trying to do over at Linwood with dual immersion is an important aspect, and in this particular case, it ends up in the relocation of another program, which is also valuable to the district. So appreciate the work that you're doing, and don't hesitate to, even though we're short-staffed at the district, I've just been told, I knew, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a responsibility to you to help you with the transition. So you should make sure that we know what needs to be done. So
I have my laundry list already ready for you.
it sounds like you are going to have to make some compromises with some of those classrooms, et cetera. But it also is a worthy program that, and I think any one of our sites could be a happy home for Gates. So I'm glad that we found one there, and look forward to working with you.
I have a comment card, so I'm gonna go to that. Okay, Gretchen Schubeck.
So good evening. I'm a parent at Linwood School. I'm the PTA president, and I'm also the parent of a current GATE fourth grader. Nina started at Linwood in first grade. It's our home school. I just want to say that really my comments are about equity. And I want to say, as a current fourth grade parent, there was zero consultation with the existing parents of GATE about when this was going to happen. The leadership team, we have a representative on it, but we weren't actually consulted and talked to. I found out about it in my role as PTA president when we were doing the parent tour for the incoming fourth grade GATE parents at Linwood. I found out 5 minutes before the tour that Michelle would be announcing that the program would potentially be moving to Olive. Now, I know I have very little time, and I would love to be able to talk to you separately about how this went down, but I want to just say that as someone who cares deeply about Linwood, this is going to devastate our school. The PTA budget is primarily from GATE parents. Our programs are currently run mostly by GATE parents. Linwood kids do not get the same opportunities as other kids in the Novato School District because we don't have money like the other schools do. Basically, if you're at Linwood, you don't get to go on field trips like other kids do. You don't get Chromebooks like other kids do. You don't have the same experiences because you're at a poor school, 65% Latino, 71% on the free and reduced lunch program. This breaks my heart that this is happening. I'm fine, Nina will do great wherever she goes, but this is not okay. I understand, we knew that GATE would be moving, but the fact that it's moving next year and that this was thrown at us at the last minute, I don't understand it. I get the reasons why, and I know that it's a slam dunk because that's what we've been told, that this is happening. It just needs the board's approval tonight. But I had to come tonight to represent Linwood because we are hurting from this. I have 1 minute left, and I'm going to try to touch on some really important things. We have a $37,000 PTA budget. $37,000. PVs is $180,000. They get $4,000 for every grade level so their kids can just go on field trips. They're sending their teachers to New York to do training on Lucy Calkins. Our teachers were selling pizza tonight at our STEM night. Loma Verde, they broke their record for their auction this year. They have a PTO. They're buying social emotional curriculum for their school because their teachers already have everything they need. Last summer I was at PV and there were teacher supplies in the garbage because those teachers get new supplies every year. I want Linwood kids to have what other elementary school kids in Novato have. They deserve it. And I'm asking you to reconsider this decision. Thank you. And I'm glad I didn't cry because I'm just about to.
Thank you, Gretchen. Appreciate you coming. Thank you. So, Superintendent Huggo, we're hearing a little bit of a disconnect there in regards to communication. Do you have any, can Yvonne or somebody speak to that in some way?
Yeah, I mean,
Or Andy's here. I mean, somebody
Yeah,
needs to make a comment, I
I'll
think.
speak to it first. Yeah, I think that what we didn't talk to, obviously, as Gretchen said, to all the GATE parents. We did talk to the GATE leadership team. You know, I guess we could have done a better job, according to Gretchen, of reaching out to all the parents. But that's what that GATE leadership team is for, frankly, is that. They represent, you know, they were chosen randomly to kind of represent all the GATE issues. And I think we moved quickly on it because we knew it was going to be happening at some time. I do disagree that, you know, that the GATE program is necessary for Linwood to have equitable resources. You know, Gretchen has mentioned to me before about the equitable resources. I don't think GATE has anything to do with that, frankly. I think that has to, if there are the resources that the principal, Andy, feels that his teachers need that are not there, then we need to look at that. But we have other schools, Hamilton, that high poverty. So just because it's a high poverty school doesn't mean that those schools are necessarily receiving less. And so if that's an issue, to me, that's a separate issue from the fact that the GATE program is at Linwood. That's what I would say. So that's something that I will look into. But I don't think just because the GATE program is there that necessarily should have anything to do with that there's a quality of resources at a single school. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Board, anybody? Trustee Millerick, and then Trustee Scott.
My concern is we appointed a GATE leadership committee and they didn't do their job. We shouldn't have to have this conversation in this room. I would like this tabled and moved to the next meeting. I think there needs to be the work that hasn't been done. I think the analysis of the separation of financial issues that you identified in terms of not having resources on that campus that have been raised this evening need to be addressed. So we're comfortable knowing that they really are separate issues. We have an assertion that they are linked, and you're assuring us they're not. I'd like something more substantial than that. So I'm going to vote against this tonight if it comes forward. I don't think we're ready to have this vote. I don't think the groundwork that committee should have done got done. I think they went off in the corner and didn't talk to the community like they should have, and they missed the boat. And I think they need some counseling, and they need to go back and finish the work that they were asked to do by this leadership and by this board. So I'm going to vote no tonight. And I would be happy to consider at our next meeting if that's with more information.
Trustee Scott.
I concur with everything you just said.
Yes, I would like to make a comment, and Trustee Tom Cooper was present at the meeting that we presented to a full room of parents. At that meeting, the parents urged the board to make a decision as soon as possible because of the timeline of the enrollment process. So at the recommendation of the parents that were here, you know, we were getting feedback, and at that time, I would say, you know, Julie was there was no resistance to this move from that group. The only thing they wanted was for the board to make a decision on whether it was going to move or not as soon as possible, and that's why you have this item here tonight.
This is the PTA president.
She was present, yeah.
You can come up. We just need, because we're on televised. It
Yeah,
just
so we had, yeah.
So this meeting was held last Monday, which was the 26th of March, I believe. And at that meeting, we were told that there was a high likelihood that it would be moving. Like I said, I found out about it in my role as PTA president only because I was going to be at the GATE tour the Friday before. Yes, I think that, you know, Yvonne is right, that the GATE families want certainty. They want to know what's happening. You know, currently, because of all of this, I know of 9 families that have decided they're not going to go to the self-contained class. Now, whether that's because they love their school more or not, but I don't think this lack of engagement before a decision seemingly was already made is making people unsettled. So the first that I heard about it as PTA president was on Friday, but the first that the other 4th grade existing GATE parents would have heard about it was if they came to that meeting on Monday night. And there was an email went out from Michelle, I believe, the afternoon after the GATE parent tour. And that was, this is coming down the pike. But that was the level of consultation.
Trustee Nell and Trustee Cooper.
Well, I'm not prepared to vote against it, or I guess I need a little more conversation here. I mean, I tend to agree with what the superintendent was saying, that I think we have exposed another issue here that is not mutually exclusive. I think that the PTA budget is something that needs to be viewed independently. I think that if the reality is there's a high percentage of GATE parents who are participating in the Linwood PTA, that they're obviously that's going to change. But I wonder if the new PTA with the dual immersion parents wouldn't be able to step up and solve that problem. So that's a separate issue for me, really. The inequity between PTA budgets and all of our elementary school campuses has been here as long as I've been here, and we all try to address that and make up the difference whenever we can. But just facts of life in some ways. So I think that's separate. I guess I would like to hear from Mr. Klein maybe, but just to get a little more support that the process was put forward. I did hear the speaker say we were told that there was a possibility that this was going to happen, and she just found out about it. And I think that just means she was one of the first people to find out about it, which is common amongst our stakeholder site leadership personnel. Something that I think I can't really remember when I first heard about it as a suggestion, but it was a long time ago that we were going to have to deal with the dual immersion growth and issues, and that GATE's movement was on the table. So it certainly isn't. I'm not surprised, but I do want to know that on whole, or that most of the community involved in this particular case are, they think it's the right thing to do. So the assurances from me are going to come from the site principal and Yvonne. So I just want to get some double check on that, because we have two trustees who are very, very concerned about the way our site leaders were treated and how the process was held. So I guess I'll just ask you to go through the process again, and let's just make sure we did this right, so that we can move ahead. Mr. Klein, are you available?
Yeah, I'd like him to speak. Yeah.
Please come forward.
All right. Thanks for having us tonight. So I want to just say, to echo what you said, Derek, this is something that we've been talking about for a couple of years. It has come up regularly at each of the parent community meetings as we've talked about dual immersion. It's one of the top items on our FAQs that we've got on our dual immersion website. So I totally agree. This is not coming out of left field at all. And I do very much agree that this is a wise move for just having a manageable plate for the new principal coming after me with dual immersion coming in. And I think it's also thoughtful of our GATE families not to have them kind of twist in the wind any longer than necessary. It's nice to have just a firm decision eventually made on that. So those are all things that, I'm thankful for that. If I could wave a magic wand, I would love for this decision to have come along even a month or two prior. The timing was a little unfortunate because people had just been notified that their child had been identified. And so that does feel like just unfortunate timing. I'd be happy to answer whatever other questions you have.
Okay, I appreciate it. Trustee Scott?
Can you go over how the outreach was to the site leadership? I mean, you have the PTA president sitting here telling us that she felt left out of the loop and was shocked at some of the decisions. So I just want to know, what was the process in terms of the outreach to the parents?
I believe I was the one who told you before, right, Gretchen? So we were preparing to do the school tour. I believe it was at 9:30 that morning, and somewhere 9-ish, Gretchen had come into our weekly coffee chat time that we have. And I had actually just been in the process of texting her about a different event that we were considering postponing. So I ran over to say, hey, we got to talk about this event real fast. And I said, by the way, we're also doing this tour, and wanted to make sure you knew that this was the message that we'll be sharing. And so I was not aware at that time that she hadn't already heard that. I just wanted to double check that she had. And so she shared with me at that point that that was her first time hearing that. Does that answer your question fully?
I'm just disappointed that that there seems to be a communication breakdown. I would have expected all of the parents to be on the same page and everybody who has a child in that program to know what the possibilities were. So I'm just surprised, and the fact that she's the PTA president makes me wonder how many other parents out there don't know, and they're going to have the shock of their lives with this decision. So that's my worry and my concern.
So we did have discussion, district office and myself, in the couple days leading up to that gate tour for the newly identified parents about the timing, messaging, et cetera, for our existing gate families as well. And I know that's a lot of what precipitated Michelle Stevens' email that went out that evening as well. Yeah.
And was there any response from the parents, or was it, my understanding this was driven by the parents, and I'm just still now wondering, was that just a handful of parents, or is that the majority of the parents?
I'd be speculating. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Trustee Cooper, yeah.
My. I want to start off with first saying I support the move. I was here at the, as has been mentioned several times, at the parent meeting last Monday, and overall, the sense that I got was there was overwhelming support. So I think as long as we do that in an organized fashion, and I agree, move both classes together, there's definitely reasons to do that for gate kids. And I think bottom line, we're going to take care of our gate kids. They're going to go over to Olive, and they're going to be very well served. There's another issue, and that's the issue that the PTA president Gretchen mentioned, and that is, and I believe my kids went to Linwood, and I believe it's probably somewhat valid, is that having gate at that site, a self-contained gate program, does offer some sort of financial benefit indirectly, and I worry about that as well. I worry that having that vacuum will create some things we need to look at as a district. So those are two definitely separate things, but so as far as what we're talking about tonight, and the other question is, the communication may or may not have been great with all parents, but I think, what if we move this, what would happen with staff, Jim, from your standpoint, if we push this to the 24th, our next meeting? Does that, and then in the meantime, we would be able to do all that outreach.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. One, so I think all the parents of the incoming, students know about it. They knew about the meeting ahead of time. They know about the move. They were offered a tour. So all the incoming fourth graders, and I would say the fifth graders, know about the move, and they had an opportunity to go do the tour. So I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know that was newly identified, or there's a current fourth grader going to be a fifth grader who doesn't know about it. And most of those people, I think, were here at that meeting the other night or went on the tour. So that's one thing. The second thing, I guess I would defer to Yvonne, because deferring it's going to have some impacts on a lot of inter and inter-district transfers. Do you want to talk to that, Yvonne, in terms of what pushing that timeline back will mean? And also, gate parents are supposed to let us know by Friday. So that's why we wanted to make the decision ahead of time, to let them know this is where the gate program is going to be next year, and have that resolved, so there wasn't a big, well, is it here, is it there? And that's why I think making the decision sooner than later is probably a better idea. But Yvonne, what are the other implications for the other?
Yeah, no, thank you, Trustee Cooper. He's right in terms of the overwhelming support. The biggest request from the group was for the board to approve it or not approve it as soon as possible, because right now we have the intra-district it closed on March 5th. So this has been a while now. At this point, the families want to know whether, you know, if they're going to be at the self-contained or not, because if not, they have to submit. We extended the deadline because of the parents' request and because of tonight. That's what they wanted. So we extended that deadline for them to submit their transfer. The other thing is it has implications on staffing. Right now, Yancy and Chris are just waiting for us to make a decision on this, and also on the dual immersion as well for staffing reasons, because it has a domino effect district-wide. So right now, so delaying this, you know, if that's the pleasure of the board, that's fine. It's just the parents' request was for the board to make a decision as soon as possible.
We extended the decision for the parents, right? Right, yeah, I remember you mentioning that, yeah. All right, and I support this decision, so Trustee Nell.
Well, with that information, I guess basically at this point I'm talking to what Trustee Scott and Trustee Miller to know that I truly understand and appreciate your the perspective that you have on this, and it saddens me that, you know, we have not done the best that we possibly could in the outreach and the education of our leadership at the site, and I really do regret that. But I think that's something that we can make up for, we can address. Again, I think most of that, or a lot of it, had to do with just the inequities of the socioeconomic conditions of one school compared to another, was brought up by the speaker. So those are different. I think what we have here is a situation where we'd be better served if we would just make this decision because of what the parents whose children are really going to be moved, they need to know as soon as possible so that they can make things happen. So I would just say that I'm going to support it. That's why I'm going to support it, and I'm just hoping that maybe you might consider it as well, that we could just move on. And then we have tools that we can use to help that site. We're going to have a new program there that's going to need help to deal with the inequity issue and some of the other comments around outreach and leadership we know is changing. So I think that it's might be something that's a better idea in this particular case from my perspective. We move ahead at this point and then work on fixing those other issues.
Anybody? Trustee Miller.
I appreciate the conversation with my associates. I'm going to still vote against this, and I would probably support it 2 weeks from now. But I think the issue to me isn't that it's a good program at Olive. I think Olive has some of the same similar social issues. I think all of the benefits that you lose at Linwood or at Loma, Linwood benefit of at Olive. I think there's all those other issues. I think are separate. I think they need to be addressed. To me, the issue is we have evidence this evening that we haven't properly communicated to the community, and that to me is critical for this district to maintain, and this board to maintain the leadership in the community and serve the community. So if it's fine if we approve it tonight or not. I know we're a short board, but I'm going to vote no tonight. My preference would be with table it, but it sounds like we're going to take a vote. I will vote no tonight, but it doesn't prejudice what I'll do in 2 weeks. I hope to see this. If this fails tonight, I would hope it comes back in 2 weeks and we can address it with more evidence as to the community process that occurred. And if other members of the community needs to come forward and they've heard about it, they'll be in the audience and they can speak to us in 2 weeks. So we'll see how this all plays out. That's my position.
Thank you for explaining that. Trustee Scott, do you know, in order for this to move forward or to table it in some respects, I think we need to hear again.
Well, tabling it, I think, is just going to create more problems for staff and interdistrict transfers and everything else, which is also a big concern of mine. I can't tell you how terribly disturbed I am that the community outreach wasn't as thorough as it could and should have been in my mind. I'm going to switch my position and support it, but very reluctantly, and I would like, moving forward, I would like to make sure that staff does that outreach. I mean, for the PTA president to only hear days before, that's not acceptable for me. It's just really not. So I'm disappointed on that end, but after looking at the ramifications of everything else, I don't think it's a wise move not to support it at this time, but a strong word of caution. Please, 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 let's communicate and make sure that we are reaching our parents. This should be a parent-driven decision and pretty much just us agreeing with, the folks that we're serving with what their needs and their wants are. So I'm going to end up supporting it, but I just have some concerns around how it was rolled out. I would like us to do a better job around that.
Okay. Appreciate that. Yes, I think we all agree that there's something happened here that needs to be addressed, and so maybe it's going back to the PTA meeting or something, Yvonne and Jim, and just taking it, explaining what happened. I mean, the board, it sounds like we're going to move this forward, but I think we need to reach back out to the parent community at Linwood and give them an understanding. And I know we've done this already of what's the future of Linwood. What does that mean? Moving this program off, the dual immersion, the parent support, just a number of things I think we can clarify with them. It would help quite a bit.
Madam President, I'd like to move this item. I would like to move that we move the GATE self-contained classes from Linwood Elementary School to the Olive Campus, beginning in the fall of 2018-19.
Okay, thank you. We have a first by Trustee Cooper.
I'll second, and just want to put some emphasis on the president's comments towards the superintendent and the assistant superintendent that they report back to us with some additional efforts made on behalf of the stakeholders in the site and everyone involved. So I would second.
Okay, thank you. A second by Trustee Nell. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so we have a vote of 4-1, 2 absent.
And to be clear, Madam President, when the board makes a decision, we all support it, so.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
All right. This is our Wonder World update and approval of the NUSD technology scope and sequence, and we have our new Director of IT, Tim Rocco, here. Hi, Tim. And Julia Kempke as well, and it looks like Yvonne is listed on this item as well.
Okay, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here and very happy to have a new partner in crime with Mr. Rocco. He's been an awesome addition. In just 8 weeks, we've mind melded pretty quickly, so appreciate him on this. Yeah. Hey, we're just well, anyways, we've done a lot of stuff in a short amount of time. So we're here to give you an update on the work of the Technology Advisory Committee, and we've been very pleased with the kind of traction they've gotten this year. As you guys know, our advisory committee is made up of teacher representatives from each school, as well as some school administrators are on the team. Trustee Mack is there as well. I don't know if there's another one of our trustees that comes every once in a while, but it's a great it's a great committee. They've really done some great work this year. I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish in a pretty short amount of time, and it's taken some time to get the traction to that level, but they meet monthly, and they've really set out to do 4 major things. That's looking at the logistics of the technology rollout, creating a scope and sequence that we're bringing forward to you for approval tonight, for technology from K to 12, which we're very happy about. Communication plan around how we're communicating to teachers, parents, and the students themselves about what this technology means for them in the classroom. And then talking about what should the teacher professional learning look like in support of the technology integration. The goals of the committee is to ensure that there's an effective integration of technology, and the rollout year was 5th, 6th, and 9th grade classrooms this year. And then also to provide a vision and plan for effective instructional use of technology district-wide. And so they've been very active this year, meeting monthly. The thing that I'm going to kind of speed through just in the interest of time, but it's in the board packet, is a little data that we collected from the committee around their perceptions of the impact of technology on the classroom. And what this shows us is just basically, if you look, as I kind of scroll through these pretty quickly, the green and purple are positive, meaning that they really feel like these have a positive or significantly positive impact on student learning in their classroom. This one's around collaboration, and then we pulled out some of the quotes from the teachers as well. This one is around ability to access the content. So really this is 100% of the teachers on that committee, as well as some other folks from the different schools, indicated that they felt like this has a positive or a significant positive impact on how well the students can access the content itself. This one is around creativity. So when I see this, it indicates to me that we just still have some work to do on showing teachers the tools that you can use in technology to be more creative in the classroom. Still really positive results. Most of the people are indicating it has an impact on students' creativity in their classroom. Here we have students' engagement. And this is one that we need to support teachers on, is how do you have a one-to-one classroom without having the students getting too off task, because it is so tempting to go off to a lot of different things. So it's definitely something we're working on to support teachers and integrating it in a way that's not too distracting to students. And then this one is around executive functioning skills. And the reason we ask this one is because does technology help students organize themselves as a learner, you know, at a better level? And again, this is one that I would look at, and we'd have some indication that we need to work with our teachers on how we help students organize their learning. And then the ability to communicate. And then finally, one of our major C's is critical thinking. I really went through that. It was in your board packet around those results. It wasn't a huge survey, so I'm not going to go spend a lot of time on it. The one thing that we do want to share with you and make sure that you have a chance to peek at is this document that we are pretty proud of. And really it was, Tim kind of came in and helped us wrap this up. So it was really a collaborative effort around some of the things he brought in, and then as well as what we were already working on with the Technology Advisory Committee. So our commitment and what the teachers on that committee have committed themselves to as well is supporting their colleagues in ensuring all of our students have access to digital literacy and citizenship curriculum through the year. And so the team has identified about 5 lessons in K through 12 that are aligned with Common Sense Media, which is a very strong, well-vetted provider of digital literacy and citizenship curriculum. And so this is our scope and sequence. We are dedicated to supporting teachers who need to work on implementing these lessons. So next year we'll offer up our coaches to come in and model them as they need to. A lot of the lessons, if you had a chance to peek at them, are really straightforward. They're very teacher-friendly, and for a lot of our teachers it's not going to be a problem to implement them. The bit of work that we do have to do to integrate the scope and sequence is working with our middle and high school administrators to see which content area some of the lessons will go into, so that it's not all on our English or socialized teachers to deliver those lessons. This is basically, I want to say, like a 6-year process that we've gone through to get this document to you. So there have been many iterations. Before the committee was called Site Technology Mentors, and they worked on something like this, but we really couldn't produce something until we had the rollout of the technology. So I just want to thank you for approving us to have the one-to-one and the fourth, wait, what classrooms do you have? 6th? The 5th, 6th, and 9th grade classrooms, because that really what initiated us to be able to say, okay, now we can approve the scope and sequence because we have the technology to ensure that it's happening. So our committee did a lot of work. It was going to be a late night, so none of them can be here, but I do want to acknowledge their work on this, and I think this is going to be a really, really strong start to our next year in terms of integrating the technology. So go back to the presentation from there. So I want to briefly go through the goals of the committee, and one of our first ones is around communication. So I'm going to hand it over to Tim now.
So I think that, especially given the conversation you guys were just having, you can appreciate us wanting to make improvements in communication. So we have a few ideas for some things that we've been able to glean thus far. And one of those items is we want to be able to provide a framework for back-to-school night for presentations that can be given there. My understanding is that last year you tried to do a presentation around the One to World that wasn't terribly well attended, but it was here at the district office. The communities are really at the schools, so we're gonna provide some information to them and try and do our best to support that. We're also working on a monthly newsletter for parents and staff about digital citizenship and digital literacy to try and get the word out and offer, again, more supports for the parents. We're working to increase information on computer distribution to teachers and to site technicians, just to make sure that everybody on the site is familiar with what's happening and has the information that they need about physically getting the computers. Finally, we're working on putting together some of the paperwork that has been done. It seems to me that I've seen a number of instances where people are chasing forms around with regard to the acceptable use policy and to the agreements that we're making when students are receiving the devices for the One to World. And we can do that digitally, and we can save some time and simplify that process a little bit.
One of our other goals going forward is just to make sure that we're getting students the information they need around appropriately and effectively using those Chromebooks. We don't want to have students bringing the Chromebooks home and doing things that are making everybody uncomfortable, you know, after hours. So that's part of what Tim just talked about around parent communication. So this monthly newsletter that will have tips and tricks for parents, as well as little videos from Common Sense around how they can keep their students safe at home. The other thing that will be included in this is we're kind of mandating that teachers take their students through the basics of being safe with their Chromebooks and how to have safety in terms of what kind of imprint they're making online. So we have some lessons that we're going to provide through Common Sense to do those types of things. So it's one of our definitive goals moving forward as we have more and more technology in the hands of students that goes home with them, that we're ensuring that they're getting some of those tools. Our next goal is ensuring all of our teachers have access to high quality professional development so that they can effectively integrate the technology into their classrooms. And so we've done some trainings for summer institutes, and then we've done ongoing trainings with the instructional coaches. We plan to do that 2-day summer institute again in June and then in August. And we also hope to kind of bring a little bit more accountability around that, because we're not seeing all the teachers taking advantage of it, and it's really going to be in support of them using the technology at really good high levels and not just as a very expensive worksheet, which we don't want to see happening. The other thing that's really important, that all of us are learners, and it's ensuring that our administrators understand what they should be looking for in a classroom in terms of effectively integrating the technology. So we're going to do some trainings with our administrators who already are using some of the tools teachers do to mimic that learning environment during their staff meetings. But we're going to do a little bit more of that this spring as well.
Our fourth goal is we're looking to improve the efficiency of the rollout with the Chromebooks. We believe that we can streamline the software experience based on some feedback that we've gotten. We've become a little bit more aggressive with our filtering. We're looking to, as you know, distribute Chromebooks to the 4th, 6th, 9th, and 11th grade coming up. So this will be our biggest year. And we're putting together quotes right now, which we'll have prepared for you at the next board meeting, but we're anticipating the costs of these additional 4 grade levels in the neighborhood of $6,500,000. We're also, this summer, we're looking at piloting a summer checkout program for our 7th and 10th graders. So those students who are going to be returning to the same school that they were in already will have the opportunity to take the Chromebooks home with them over the summer.
So just kind of a reflection on our first year rollout. I kind of already mentioned this, that we just want to make sure that we get more teachers into our trainings. A lot of the trainings are focused on Google Classroom as kind of the learning management system that we're using. One of the main reasons is that it has a lot of good features, and then the other big reason is it's free. So what are you going to do? The other thing that we really want to focus on, and I know that I've presented this to you before, is what does the effective integration of technology look like, so that we're not just seeing it as a really expensive worksheet, like I said. So how do we acknowledge when a teacher starts moving into redefining the use of technology in their classrooms? And that's kind of a three-pronged approach. So it's training the students on what are the things that they can use to produce and show what they know through technology. It's having teachers knowing how to set up lessons so students have that opportunity to create their demonstration of learning. And then it's involving parents so they know, what should I see at home when a student is working on something that's high quality? So this model has been around for a good amount of time around how do we effectively integrate the technology so that it isn't just at this kind of surface level. So we're going to do focus trainings around Google Classroom, and then the SAMR model, as it's called, with both teachers and our administrators. So really our reflection from this year is we need to go into deeper, and we need to make sure that we're doing some ongoing follow-up with our teachers around that. So that is kind of the instructional side of our reflection.
On the technical side, we're making a switch from ASUS Chromebooks, which we purchased last year. We piloted a model last year, and the model that we piloted was wonderful. But as things happen in technology, things change, and the model that we purchased was not the exact same model that we could pilot on, and that model came with some issues. Particularly, there was a number of models that just came out of the box. There was a too high a failure rate. So in this coming year, we're looking at purchasing HPs. HP is one of their strong suits. One of the things that I'm personally attracted to is that they have a self-maintainer program, and that will allow us to repair the Chromebooks more quickly and repair them ourselves to be able to maintain a stock of pieces parts, so that when a screen comes back cracked, we can replace that in 15 minutes at $31 instead of having to send it back to a manufacturer and get worked out, checked out with HP to be able to do that. One of the things that I think that we've been able to see thus far is that students generally take better care of the devices when they're checked out to the student individually as opposed to the cart model, which is what you see a lot of in schools that aren't doing one-to-ones. The breakage rate so far has been very impressive. That being said, we're coming up on the end of the school year, and we'll be happy to come back and tell you what it's really like, because I think that there are probably some things that are hiding out there, and we'll learn more about that as the school year winds down. Finally, I do want to mention that we did undertake some infrastructure upgrades to prepare for this. Included in those things are our internet bandwidth, some of the switching capacity that we have that's at the distribution layer, and also the Wi-Fi access that we've added to be able to cover the schools.
Trustee Millerick, I know you have a question.
I
do. I'm just going to go to you first. Well. How did I guess?
The SAMR model, substitution, augmentation, modify, and regeneration?
Definition.
Redefinition. I can't read my own handwriting. So I appreciate the model. We talked about the model the year before, as the year began. We're now at the end of the year. Have you got stories or actual use cases where you can see teachers' lesson plans moving down this? Can you find individual write-ups that we could review, maybe not at the table, but maybe as a report, that so we can see it? I mean, I agree with the model, but I'd like to see some specifics on how we've achieved. So, yes, no?
Yes,
okay.
In like a case study or a vignette of a teacher's growth through the year, is that?
Whatever you think will communicate to, I mean, they can be way too long for easy. I mean, somebody could write for 10 pages. I don't need 10 pages. I need to know that we're not just all doing augmentation as we move forward, that we really are achieving in some way. And if you had a measure of that as opposed to just examples would be a good start. Anecdotal evidence would be a good start, but I'd like to see some measure of maybe a self-assessment by the instructor that says, here's what's happening in my class, here's where I've achieved, here's where I haven't. So I'm curious, and if
Yeah, we have definitely
okay.
some ways that we could collect that data.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that we identify as we look at, thank you very much for the very colorful and detailed work, obviously years of effort. Some of this stuff I'd like to see tied back to Essler's real learning outcomes, and if we could put a column on that that says, here's the learning outcome we're looking for, and maybe it's like, not that I did a word processing document, but that I did a better word processing document, or I did it at a higher standard. Some measure of improved quality, because I fully expect our students are producing higher quality work. At least they're typewriting their papers as opposed to handwriting them, and maybe they even spell check them now, which they maybe never did before in their typewriters. So I'd be interested in some measure around mask. And finally, is just a point of information, my daughter teaches at Terra Linda, and they're moving all their classes onto Canvas. She is taking her classes, and they'll still be taught online in the classroom, because that's the model at high school. All of the assignments and stuff are being put in the Canvas framework, and they're going to be tracking. They won't be doing the grading because they use Aries for grading like we do here, but the actual course content is being moved over. It's not a requirement yet for every instructor, but I suspect Mr. Wampaw will have that, and their board will have that conversation in a year or two. But she's on that journey to structure using Canvas as a tool, which is what the state colleges all use, the state universities all use, and it's a pretty decent platform. So as a point of information, we ought to be thinking about when we're going to start that journey. Thank you very much.
Further questions, comments? Anybody? Trustee Nell and Trustee Scott.
Well, congratulations on making progress. This is an enormous thing that you're trying to do. I mean, they tell tales about you're going to turn the Queen Mary. You got to start, way back there, and I feel like that's what we did. I just wish we could turn this thing faster, because we are slipping in so many ways. I mean, we are taking baby steps here. From my perspective, being in the private sector, and the kinds of things that I need to see my employees coming forward with, and the skills and abilities. So thank goodness we're doing it, and I hope we can continue to fund it, if not more. I appreciate everything. I understand why why we are where we are at. But I just want to say that I think we need to get farther Trustee Miller talked about Canvas. I don't know that much about it, but it's certainly something that I think we need to go. I mean, our students can be taking tests, writing papers, doing problems real time on these applications, and this information can be being reported real time to their instructors, and it can be reported to them in ways that is specific to the issues that particular student is struggling with, and to know that the technology is out there, and just how much more we can be doing it's just frustrating from my perspective that we're still back here trying to. We have surveys where you actually had red space up there where people thought it was having a negative impact on education, and it's just shocking to me. And I'm just gonna be outraged for a second or two here. Congratulations. I know what you guys are up against. Let me just tell you, the last, for 20 years in the private sector, we have been going through this, and there's been a lot has happened, but public education is too far behind in this adaptation of technology and to delivering education, and we're going to have to do better, all of us. And so thanks for doing the best you can right now.
I do just want to have one very short comment about that is one of the things that the Technology Advisory Committee is working on is like a matrix of resources for teachers that are exactly those tools. They're just not ready for full distribution. So it's in the works, and there's a lot of teachers that are using those tools. It's just how do we formalize it? But hopefully next year there'll be something ready to bring forward to you. But I think we all have a sense of urgency around this as well.
Trustee Scott.
Thank you for the presentation. I just have a question around the care of the equipment. I'm just curious, you mentioned the difference between the CART model and the checkout one-to-one. The checkout one-to-one, are we having students and parents signing some sort of agreement that if you break this, you're going to pay for it? Do we have that with the checkout or the CART model?
Not with the CART model, because that's like in the class time. It's all within the context of the classroom, so it would be pretty onerous to do that. But with the one-to-one checkout, there's a whole set of forms that goes along with that.
And is that going for the 4th, 6th, 9th, and 11th, everybody that's rolled out to this, everybody that's touching any of our technology equipment is going to be a one-on-one, and we're going to get this form signed by the parents and the child? Okay, thank you.
And just to tag along, we've looked at our policy, student use, technology use policy. I think I've asked that before, but we have, it's hasn't been updated since 2009, so I just want to make sure it applies to what we're currently doing today.
Yeah, it should have been updated since then, from what I understand.
Just my personal looking, I mean.
Oh, okay. We'll double check on
and
what's up there because we definitely have updated it.
Okay. And yeah.
You know, I would just add real quickly, I mean, even for the CART model, even for those devices, that would be covered by the acceptable use policy for how you treat the district equipment. The district technology would be included there. I mean, maybe not explicitly like saying that you have to pay for it, but I think that there's an element of responsibility there that would come just with the standard acceptable use policy.
Okay. And then my other thing was the professional development. So I'm glad you highlighted that and more making it accountable. That was my big concern when you first brought this forward, was that I didn't think it was enough and it was sort of an option for teachers and, oh, here's 2 days and if you'd like to go. So we definitely are seeing that that needs to be a little more accountable for that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Sorry, I jumped in front of everyone. Training, yeah. Okay, so this, did you have anything else? I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Okay, Trustee Cooper. No, I don't have anything. Oh, yes.
So I just want to say, reiterate what some of you guys have said, and I appreciate Trustee Nell's frustrations that we're not further along, but we've really come a long way, and really thanks to Sean for starting this, and Ryan, and people in IT before, but really to Julia and Tim's brought a fresh perspective, which is going to be awesome. But Julia, your work with the Technology Advisory Committee for the last 3 years, probably because all the great information you got when you were the director of technology helped you out with that. But in all seriousness, the teachers really helped us lay this out. But to have gone where we are to get to a scope and sequence and to lay this out with the minimal amount of problems in laying it out, but just the thoughtful work that you have promoted, I really want to thank you, because you've made a huge difference leading this forward, and it could have gone sideways a whole bunch of different times, and really, really appreciate your leadership on that. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you. We also need approval of the scope and sequence.
Yeah.
Because we want to have some teeth on it.
Yeah, it's great work. Anybody want to make a move? Okay. Okay, so this is approval of the scope and sequence. NUSD technology scope and sequence. We have a first by Trustee Millerick and a second by Trustee Scott.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. 5-0. 2 absent. Thank you very much. Thank you. A lot of great work in that. And a lot of it due to the committee, which is great. That's why we have those committees. All right. Our next item, Superintendent Hogaboom is going to present.
Thank you, President Butler. So this is the action to approve two things, actually, the job description and employment agreement for Deputy Superintendent of Human Resources and Strategic Development. So it's the job description and then also the contract that goes with that employment agreement. So this is kind of an unusual item, and I think what's unusual about it is the proactive thinking about it. So I really commend the board for taking this action. And I think the question is why. So why do we need to do this? And I'll say there's a couple reasons. One, as you all know, your single most important job is to hire a highly qualified superintendent, which hopefully you have, but also to look to the future. And you know, one of the things I know that we value in this district, and Trustee Scott admitted this a little earlier, is promoting our own people that are highly qualified, because we like to make sure that we do that with our own staff. So it's not all that unusual to have a person be a deputy superintendent. A lot of districts, in fact, probably most districts have that. I think what's unusual about this one is the extra step that the board is taking to make sure that Assistant Superintendent Chris Koska is going to replace me when I leave. And so I don't have immediate plans on leaving, but it's also usually a complicated process. It can be a costly process. Hiring leadership associates or whomever as a search firm can cost $25,000. And so when you have a gem of a person, which I would like to say that Mr. Koska is, then I think it's pretty proactive of you all to be thinking about a succession plan. And again, districts do not have succession plans. I mean, usually the superintendent leaves and, oh, what are we going to do? And unfortunately, sometimes that's in May or June, and then you're out to lunch because a lot of the other well-qualified superintendents are already gone at that time. So I think by what this does is it says we have a very highly qualified person who has been an elementary principal. He's worked in 4 different districts. He's been in curriculum and instruction. He's done HR. He's worked in Santa Rosa. He's worked in Vallejo. He's been in Napa. He has done stellar work here in our HR. We're completely revamping our HR department. He's built trust with our labor unions, both classified and certificated. Super efficient, great sense of humor. And when you have somebody of that high quality, you want to keep them around. And so again, whether that's next year or the year after, to have a succession plan which says that after I leave that Chris will be the superintendent is a very forward-thinking thing to do. I think it provides consistency. I'm really proud of all the initiatives we have. I mean, you just saw a couple tonight, but and Andy, thank you for hanging around for dual immersion, but dual immersion and the Wonder World and the graduate profile and equity and all the work that we're doing, I think, to move this district forward is really important. And if you get a new superintendent every 2 or 3 years, then that blocks that progress from going forward. So having Chris initially be the deputy superintendent and then take over for me, I think is really important because that's the continuity that helps those initiatives to go forward. So a new person comes in from the outside, they have their own objectives, they have their own agenda, and then what suffers and the teachers roll their eyes because, oh, this year we're doing PBL and next year we're doing competency-based learning, and the next year we're doing something else. So in order to ensure that continuity of I think the great plans that we have, I can't think of a better person than Chris to take over after I leave. Again, maybe that's next year or the year after or whenever, but that's really the why behind this whole thing. So having a succession plan to this degree is unusual, but I think it's a great thing. So you have 2 things in front of you. The first one, pretty straightforward, is the approval of the job description for the Deputy Superintendent of Human Resources and Strategic Development. I'm not going to go through it, but what it does is, obviously, if I'm not here, Chris is in charge, talks about in collaboration with the superintendent, plan and facilitate strategic district initiatives, prioritize the work. So really, we would work together on a lot of things that are going on so he'd be able to carry those forward. So that's the job description. As I mentioned, the contract itself is fairly self-explanatory. The piece that I would cover, again, that's unusual is item 13. And item 13, which is on page 6, basically is the provisional offer of employment as district superintendent. So as I mentioned before, Chris could go out and be a superintendent in a lot of different districts, and fortunately, you prevented him, I think, with this from doing that because we want to keep him here in Novato. And so that is the unusual part of the contract that is not in probably 99% of the deputy superintendent contracts would be where it states, if the district superintendent resigns or otherwise terminates employment with the district during the 2018-19 school year to be effective no later than July 1st, the boards will take action to appoint the deputy superintendent to the position of superintendent commencing the day following the last day of the exiting superintendent's employment, or July 1st, 2019, whichever occurs first. So that's an unusual part of it. And again, I think it's really forward thinking. I appreciate your recognizing talent when you see it. And, you know, a lot of times you go out for a superintendent to make sure you have the best person. So you go out there, see who there is. And I think in this case, it's pretty clear to everybody that you already have that person. So why waste everybody's time and effort? And those are the two items that are before you.
Thank you. Appreciate you putting that all together. Anybody want to make a comment? I'm thrilled that we're doing this. We haven't, as I've been on the board, we've never been proactive in this way and have a succession plan. And I'm excited that it's Chris in this role. And it's been a pleasure working with him as assistant superintendent, but now he'll take on some extra duties as a deputy soup, kind of partnering with Jim a little bit more. And I think it's the best thing. It's a minimal amount of cost to us, but the reward far outweighs that. So I'm thrilled that we're doing this. So, Trustee Scott?
Yeah, I just want to say that for me, the succession plan is the smart thing to do. And I'm definitely somebody that likes to promote and grow our own. And Chris, you've been stellar watching you in HR turn that department around. I can't thank you enough. I appreciate your leadership. I also think that it provides consistency for the district, and that's really important for me to have some stability. I don't want to see a continual change, and a continual change. I don't think that that benefits or serves the district. And for me, that's why I'm so supportive of it, and I just think you're a great fit for us. So that's why I'm supporting this.
Great. Trustee Cooper.
I think this is a great opportunity, as Jim said, to continue. There's a couple of really important things for me. One is we've got an excellent person. We already know his work ethic. We know what he does, and we've seen that. So that's number one. Number two is it's going to give us an opportunity to continue, as Jim said, all those initiatives and programs. Of course, he's going to, I'm sure, have input, but we'll be continuing those. So it'll be a continuum rather than a stop and then now a new start. And thirdly, I like the fact that we're saving $25,000, but that seems almost secondary. The main thing is that we've got the continuity and a very, very capable individual to lead this district when the time comes.
Trustee Nell?
Yeah, I don't want to sound too redundant. I mean, I think the continuity is the value to the district and the community. Obviously, the person is important and should be recognized for their achievement and their contributions to come. I really appreciate the way Superintendent Hogaboom put it. I'll be honest with you, from my perspective, from a private business perspective, this is the norm.
Yeah.
The fact that we are actually doing something different is probably really healthy for public education in the state of California. Whether it's you move up through a partnership structure or through corporation officers within corporations, but that makes no sense not to have continuity and succession built into your business plan. So I think we're just doing. There's a lot of wisdom to this, and we have excellent leadership in this district, and we're just enforcing that, validating that, and planning to continue it that way. So appreciate it, everyone involved in this decision. So thank you.
Trustee Millerick.
Chris, to me, the key issue here is, first I want to second what Trustee Nella said. The whole entire private sector world where they have stockholders that hold them accountable adopt a model that allows them to see further forward than their shoelaces, and in this case, we're doing that. So just in terms of continuity, this should be the norm in public sector jobs, and it's not. It is the norm in private sector jobs, and I think we were just smart enough to to think like that. The more important lesson for me from private sector is that companies are customer driven, and our customers are 8,000 children in Novato. And we should be doing things at this board table and with this, and in combination with this leadership team that gives the very best education we possibly can to those 8,000 children. And I think those are the choices we're making this evening, and I appreciate your participation in this decision. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks trustees for commenting on that. I originally thought that maybe we would just approve the separate items. Typically that's how they come forward, the job description and then the contract. We can approve them all at once if everybody agrees with that. We'll just take them all at the same time. Okay.
I'm okay with that.
So I need an approval of the job description for Deputy Superintendent of Human Resources and Strategic Development and approval of the employment agreement for the Deputy Superintendent of Human Resources and Strategic Development, which would be Chris Koska.
I'll move.
Okay, I have a first by trustee Scott, second. Trustee Nell as a second. All in favor? 5-0. 2 absent.
We're lucky.
Congratulations, Chris. And if you could stick around, we need to have you sign the
Just a
small signature. All right, this is our last, not our last item, but our last discussion action item, and this is the Citizens Parcel Tax Oversight Committee policy. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. When we bring updates to our policies, usually it relates to a new law or a new ed code update. This update actually relates to the passage of the parcel tax back in 2014 is going through to update. We noticed that the policy and administrative regulation related to the previous parcel taxes. So we have updated it based on the language of the actual parcel tax measure. The only real significant changes are in the administrative regulation, where there were a lot of details which the previous parcel taxes required on the oversight committee. They have gone back to a very similar to our Citizens Oversight Committee for the Measure G or for bonds. So this language is very similar to what you will see in our Citizens Oversight Committee for the bond. One thing I would like to note is that there is a change, and it's in linking with Prop 39 changes around bonds, is that now members can serve for 3 2-year terms instead of 2 2-year terms. So that's a really great thing for, it's difficult sometimes to find members to volunteer their time on these committees, and we appreciate the legislature's change in the bond world, and we're just linking this in as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions with this.
Questions from the board?
I don't have any questions.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to move because I just, it's good, it's a good, well, we should have done it a long time ago,
Yeah,
actually, I
we
updated
should've.
it, but it's
Yeah.
good that we're getting this updated at this point.
Right. So we have a first by trustee Nell.
Second.
Second by trustee Cooper. All in favor to approve the policy? Great. 5-0, 2 absent. That was easy. All right, so we have our staff reports, and just to help Andy Klein out a little bit, we're going to switch up the staff report lineup, and we'll start with the dual immersion update. So he can get on the road.
We're not expecting anybody to come rushing in here.
No, they're all at home, laying in bed.
They've done it,
Yeah.
All right, thank you, President Butler. So this evening, we're here to give an update on the dual immersion and the progress happening over at Linwood Elementary. I want to thank Andy for his leadership, his commitment to growing dual immersion and implementing it for the fall of 2018. The work right now is mainly with our teachers, getting them ready for the new school year. Andy will go through that process in this presentation. Just as a reminder, our vision statement, one that was co-created with our task force around developing our students to be to have those knowledge and skills to become productive and engaged members of a diverse global community. In terms of the vision, our vision is around language and culture, but also for our students to be meeting and exceeding grade level standards, developing high levels of linguistic and academic proficiency in both Spanish and English, and becoming culturally competent, bilingual and biliterate. So that's our vision. Andy's going to go through the next quickly, and there's some slides where he's going to focus more on. Thank you, Andy.
All right, so you've seen some of these slides before. So I don't necessarily have any prepared statements to share there other than to remind you of what the vision has been. If there are questions around them, I'd be more than happy to address those also. So this is the 90-10 model, and so it shows there is actually one minor change here that you'll see, and that just came down to when we crunched the numbers and we looked at least a half an hour of ELD that we wanted to make sure we were committing to. Now 45 minutes is the ideal amount that the district has been striving for. At each grade level, we made an agreement that with dual immersion, so as not to compromise the 90-10 model, a half an hour was sufficient at the kinder level and at the first grade level as well. But even with that, once you factor in PE, music, we have a drama instructor, we have a Zumba teacher at the kinder level, none of those folks are folks who bring Spanish to the table right now. And so because of that, the numbers are a little bit different than what you see represented here on the screen. And it's actually much more akin to what a typical 90-10 model would look like for well-established 90-10 programs. And that is that at the TKK level, it's 90-10, 90% Spanish, 10% instruction in English. And then actually it's a 10% gradient the next year. So it'd be more like an 80-20 at the first grade, 70-30 at second, and it allows us to achieve a 50-50 balance quicker at the fourth grade rather than the fifth grade level. One of the side benefits there is it also makes it a little more flexible as far as staffing. So at the fourth and fifth grade levels, by that time you typically have your subjects be language specific. So you might do science and math in one language and language and reading and social studies in the other language, for instance. And so that allows actually the potential of having a couple teaching pairs, which we already have at fourth or fifth grade levels anyway, where they'll flip for a couple subjects during the day with the kids, and you can have one teacher be monolingual English and the other monolingual Spanish in the way they instruct throughout their day. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Key agreements there. And I think it might have gotten cut off a little bit there at the bottom, but again, this is one that you guys have all seen before. This is going to be especially critical as we get into the numbers in just a moment. One of the things that we are working at between central office here and the site is making sure that we do a good job of identifying the home language of folks who have opted in or out of the program. And that's going to be really important as we go through the transfer process, making sure we maintain that good balance. All right, so here's some fun stuff to update you on then. I'm not a fan of reading stuff to you, but I guess we have viewers at home. It's kind of nice to be able to at least update them on some of these things. So on March 20th, we had a chance to go down to Redwood City and observe at a site that is a model school for dual immersion schools. And so I want to say a big thank you to Adelante School and the different administrators who were kind enough to go us and spend the whole day practically with us, showing us around and really taking a lot of thoughtful time to mull over again some of the important questions that are wise for us to be aware of going into a new program and learning from other folks' past experiences, what made them more successful or pitfalls to avoid as well. So that day was very, very fruitful. I actually called up a list of notes that I shared with internally here as a memo, just to all the different agreements that were made that day. And I'm also pleased to report there's been updates even since we made these slides for you. So the second item there, where we talk about Maravillas or Benchmark Adelante, not to be confused with Adelante School that we went to. is that we have actually determined as a dual immersion team that we'll be going with the Maravillas program for our language and reading selection. You'll see that math expressions in Spanish also is the one that we want to have for our core math materials that we'll be using. Okay. And then maybe I'll just back up real fast and give you a couple other little updates. So one of the other things that we had said all along is we really have to be very intentional about keeping Linwood as cohesive a school as possible throughout this whole transition process. One of those key elements that the Dual Immersion Task Force has really charged us with along the way is making sure that we have all students, 2nd through 5th grade included next year, have some element of Spanish exposure, and that's one binder that we can have as a cultural unit. And so we've determined what that plan is going to be. We have buddy classes already established between upper grade and lower grade classes that do regular activities together on a bi-weekly basis usually. And so it's been agreed that those buddy class activities are going to consistently be in Spanish. That will obviously allow the English-speaking classes, the English-only classes, to have that some Spanish exposure and to do it in an authentic way where their little buddies are also kind of getting to be the teacher a little bit in that moment as well. And then our numbers with the approval that you all just made around the GATE program moving to Olive next year, our numbers are almost a perfect match as far as the number that we'll have of dual immersion classes and the number of non-dual immersion classes for this next year. There will be 2 additional classes that we will need to get a little more creative in how we provide them with some Spanish exposure. I want to compliment our kindergarten team because they've already volunteered to step up if it makes sense to do so during a little portion of time after their late birds have left, before the rest of the upper grade students have left for the day. They said they'd be willing to come in once every couple weeks or so and provide mini lessons to those students in those classes. We also are looking at some of our existing bilingual staff who are not the dual immersion teachers, but who are instructors in our LEAP program to see if we might be able to also grow some of our own that way and provide them some opportunities to go do some mini lessons as well there. So pretty exciting developments. We also have spring language screenings that all students in both languages are going to be experiencing. And one of the blessings of having gone out and gotten our 5th member of our team, and I skipped right past that probably quicker than I should have, we hired the 5th member of our dual immersion teaching team just a few weeks ago. So we're excited to have Jasmine Suttles join us. She's a local in the neighborhood here. She's worked with you as translators, I believe, before. You may know her. And so anyway, she is somebody who brings a lot of phenomenal experience to the table with a biology background as well. And so I'm really excited to see, already she's been a great contributor to the team. We're fortunate that she's working part-time right now, and she's been very generous with her time. And so she has also agreed to come and start accomplishing some of these language screenings, starting hopefully as early as the last week or so of April here, in which we can start getting those lined up, and that will help us to be far better informed about keeping that proper balance of kids' language levels as we construct rosters for the classrooms. All right, and then our teachers, all 4 of the teachers who are currently on staff went to CABE, the California Association of Bilingual Educators Conference, along with Yvonne and Jim, I think, went. There was a whole host of folks from the district level that went as well. And so they did a 2-day intensive specifically around how do you go about ironing out all the wrinkles when you're launching a brand new dual immersion program. And so that's awesome to have that team be there cohesively working and making good decisions there for the betterment of the program. I'm also excited that at least 2 of our members are going to be able to contribute to the CABE Monterey Institute program that's on July 1st through 3rd. And that's one of the institutes that CABE does in which it's actually reversed, and all the professional development is done in Spanish, not in English, which obviously in this case should be kind of just toggling between the 2 pretty seamlessly for our teachers anyway. But that's pretty exciting to think that that's the approach that's taken there as well. And then the last thing I'll highlight there's certainly other things that we could get into if you're curious, but we are going to be piloting for the remainder of the year a program called iStation. We have a webinar set up for tomorrow afternoon for the dual immersion teachers and I. And it'll be an opportunity for us to explore a software program that allows not only Spanish, but also it's both languages, Spanish, English. In fact, I think it offers multiple languages beyond that even. And it's multiple subjects. It isn't just language, it isn't just reading, it goes into science, social studies, and math. And so it'll allow us to pilot this for the last couple months of the year to see if that's a quality program that we might want to consider purchasing for the future, which we know is one of those critical items to also offer not only to our students, but to our families. That's one of the common questions I get with new families is, how do I learn with my child along with them as they're having this new language experience as well? And so we're hopeful that might be a program that we could then include in the language lab that's meant to be one of those crown jewels of the community center that's due to go in. All right, let's get to numbers. All right, so our enrollment numbers as of last week, you can see them up there. TK had 12, Kinder had 17, first grade had 34. I say had because, of course, those numbers keep changing. We already had multiple people coming through the office today picking up new enrollment packets. Linwood, of course, more than probably many of the other sites within Nevada Unified, has a more mobile population. And so we do tend to have a little higher percentage of new enrollees as we get into the summer as well. So I fully anticipate we'll see those numbers continue to grow. And a dual immersion TKK Kinder Academy is being offered through the dual immersion teaching team as well. So that's a 3-hour introductory opportunity to get them familiar with the facilities. It's all going to be conducted in Spanish, so again, getting them a little bit used to that immersive experience. And it's going to be more socially driven, where you're really trying to help the kids to understand the social norms and expectations that help them to then go in just two or three weekdays after that is when the school year begins, and so they'll hopefully be that much better set up to go in and feel productive right away in a TK or Kinder environment as well. This will be tailored to those students who are new to Linwood. So we don't necessarily have the resources and time and everything that we're expecting to have, like, for instance, our current TK and Kinder families will be moving up to Kinder and First as part of the program in the fall. This is more tailored to those folks who are brand new enrollees or who are transferring in from outside of the Linwood area at either the TK or K level. Our expectation is that if they're transferring in as a first grader, they at least have some experience already in the school environment, hopefully, and it'll be a little easier transition as a result for them. I think that's it, yeah. What questions or comments?
Questions?
I would like to add just one piece of information that was not included on there. This coming Monday, we will be having the principal interviews on Monday. We right now are screening the candidates. We have a good pool of candidates. And then on Tuesday, we'll do the second round interview with cabinet. So that just another piece of information.
Thank you for doing that. I mean, we've gotten several updates throughout this is 3 years in the making, so you've always kept us informed, and so this is nice to just get another update. I appreciate it. It's coming down to the wire here a little bit, and you're getting it all lined up. So any other comments, Trustee Nell?
But just a quick thank you to Mr. Klein for the work that you've done on putting this program together. I think you certainly were instrumental in making it happen, so I just thought that was important to say thank you for helping the ball rolling and getting as far as you have.
Thank you. It's a humbling experience because we have a fabulous team to work with, and I'm proud of the work that we've done together as a team, so thank you for recognizing them.
Anybody else? All right. Trustee Miller.
Just second the same thought, Mr. Klein. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we all agree
Amazing
with
work.
that, for sure. Yeah, yeah. You've been a big part of this, so. All right, this is a staff report, and we'll continue to get more information as we progress in the beginning of the school year. I'm sure we'll be heading on over there to see it all get started up. All right, now we'll go back to the Youth Truth Survey update, and then following that will be the Housing Survey update, and then we'll wrap up our meeting for this evening.
Okay, well, we're always here at the end for Yancy. Where are you going? Thank you for this report. I'm actually really excited about this because we have had a myriad of surveys over probably the past 10 or 15 years, and the Youth Truth Survey has really helped to pull all those together. So first of all, a big thank you to the Marin Community Foundation and the Haas Foundation. They have paid for this. They cost to do all this per school is about $2,000, and they've agreed for the next 2 years to do this for us. So the Marin Community Foundation was paying for our elementary schools to do it, kind of in conjunction with the P3. They're trying to get other districts in the Bay Area to do this. And then the Haas Foundation, I didn't want to just do the elementary schools, so then we asked the Haas Foundation, and they stepped up to pay for our secondary schools. It'll be great to have some baseline data to give the same survey every year so we can see where we improved and maybe some areas for improvement. They've been great. Sonia and her staff have come and presented not only to Leslie and me, but to our principals and to our student advocacy groups and everybody, trying to get them up to speed. I will say it's a lot of information. It's almost overwhelming because we had great results, obviously over 5,000 student results, parent results, staff results. But the nice thing, again, is the consistency, and it'll be nice to have year-to-year data. So with that, I'm going to rush through this fairly quickly because I think you have most of this info, but more survey results than we ever have. When we first started looking at information primarily for the LCAP, we used Hanover Insurance, if you remember, the first year to help us do an LCAP survey, but that was only for the parents. So our numbers have been increasing every year, and really a lot of shout outs to Leslie for working really hard on first with Hanover, and then since then to make sure that every year our response rates have been increasing. Here's our student responses. Again, our students are a captive audience, so we should be able to to get most of our students, but you can see there's high school, middle, the most are just obviously representative of those. This is the one, though, I think that's really important, and it's a little small on the left there, but in 13-14, we had 224 responses compared to 1,778 this year. So every year we're getting more responses. And as you know, it's really hard to get parents to respond to surveys. You usually get about a 5% result, and then usually it's always the same parent. So I think we're doing something right, and you can kind of see which ones are. The majority of those are elementary school families, and then secondly is high school and then middle school. Staff responses, again, they're a captive audience, but staff don't always fill out surveys either. So again, you can see from a low in 14-15 of just 85 staff responses this year to 547. And you can again see which of those were, the majority of those were again elementary and then high school and then middle school. We do have the ability of, I think anyone, right, to get our results. So this is where you would go to log in. There's a password, and you can see all the results. They're broken down by, you can look at them by grade levels, like high school, middle school, elementary. Then you can click on every school. So you can click on Hamilton or Loma Verde or San Jose, whatever you'd like. And again, each school has those 3 different responses of parents, students, and staff. And then there's themes. So not every group was asked the same question. So you can see for the families or the parents, they had those 6 areas: school culture, communications and feedback, engagement and empowerment, relationships, school safety and resources. Students were asked kind of some of the same, but a little different: classroom culture, student engagement, personal relationships, academic rigor, relevance, and instructional materials. And then staff were asked about 4 different themes: culture and communication, engagement and empowerment, relationships, and professional development and support. If probably the best thing to do is to try to go through this. We've gone through it extensively. It takes a few times of going through it before you can see all the different ways you can break things down. These are the highest rated themes. When we get the comparisons, they are compared to California, and then they're compared to kind of the nation, although I will say that there are not a lot of districts necessarily that are taking this so far, and so sometimes our results were quite a bit lower because a lot of the schools are like high tech high, there might be new tech high, there's a lot of charter schools, so it's not kind of your average comprehensive high school or middle school or elementary school that we're comparing with. But the ones we were high for staff, relationships and engagement and empowerment, in terms of elementary, with students at elementary, personal relationships and student engagement, and family relationships and school culture. And you can see with family relationships and school culture was strong across the board. In middle school, again, engagement and empowerment and relationships kind of across the board. And then for students, across the board, academic rigor and student engagement. Some of our areas to look at. For staff, professional development was an area of concern, primarily because this year we were way too fragmented. I think we gave people too many choices. We stressed voice and choice, I think, to the expense of consistency and coherency. So instead of giving people choices around project-based learning or the graduate profile or equity, they could have taken growth mindset. They could have taken almost anything they wanted. And I think it made people feel a lack of connection between some of those topics and the consistency we're looking for. So we already knew we needed to do some work. So just reiterated our professional development plans. And we'll come back to you with what that is for next year. Also culture and communication. So as we heard tonight, communication's an area we need to work on. With students in elementary, relevance and classroom culture, and you can kind of see school culture is a theme there for students across the board. And then also with family resources and school safety. Obviously, school safety is on everybody's mind right now. Bill Welch is going to come and talk to us. We did a brief report on school safety. Bill's going to come and talk to us, I think, in the next couple meetings about what we're doing with safety in North Bay as well. This just, you can't even probably read that, but it just shows these are all the different reports you can get. So it's, the overall high school experience, then you can look at Santa Marin High, Novato High, then you can do Hill, then you have Sinaloa, overall, San Jose, Hamilton, Nevada. So it just, there's so many different ways to break things down. So it takes some time to delve into it. What we suggested to our principals is they don't try to cover everything. I sat in on Amanda Langford's presentation to her staff, which I thought was really good. She smartly, well, that's not a word, but anyway, she decided to share the staff results first. Of course, staff are interested in what their results are and kind of went through what was strong, and then they're going to look at the students and then the parents. But we've really suggested that, hey, student advocacy councils, let's let our students really delve into the data, the student data, and share that with adults. Let's let the district advisory committee, which we did, we delved into 5 themes and gave each group a theme to analyze. Have parents, have the parent, the PTA, see if they will look at the parent results and see if they can make, it's just too much information. And not only that, each survey also has pages and pages of comments. So probably the only person who really looked at those were the principals and assistant principals, because there was just a lot there, but they're going through it all and trying to make sense of it all. And then Youth Truth tries to help us make sense of that as well. The last thing I'll say, and Maria had a question about this, was we are continuing to do the California Healthy Kids Survey or the Check Survey every year. We're continuing that because even though there's some crossover, it's more specific really to bullying and to drug and alcohol issues. And we've been doing the Check Survey for, gosh, I don't know how long. So we've got 10 years of data. I don't want to just stop doing that. And one of the things Maria asked, which we'll follow up on, is to see if Evie can help us do kind of analysis of the results when we get them back from the California Healthy Kids Survey, and how does that match up to the results that we got out of the Youth Truth Survey. So we will be following up on that, and Leslie will help follow up on that as well. We were also able to ask some individual questions that we wanted in the district. So one of them that we wanted to show was about the equity imperative, and the other was the graduate profile. So this first one was, are you aware of the equity imperative? And you can kind of see where that is with the staff on the left, where the high school staff and the middle school staff are slightly more aware of the equity imperative than elementary. Then on the right, you can see the family results. Yes is blue and no is red. So we have some work to do with our families and our students to know what we're doing with equity. So that was good feedback about the need to increase communication. So again, stronger there with staff, which I think you would expect, than with our families and students. And the second question, are you aware of the graduate profile? And again, you can see that staff, it's pretty strong, especially at the secondary level. And this one actually is stronger if you look at the yeses and nos. The families are more aware of it. Students, unfortunately, we need to do some work. Some students were confused a little bit when we talked to them at the Student Advocacy Council because they knew what the 6 C's were. They didn't exactly know maybe that the 6 C's were the graduate profile, so could have been a language thing. But again, we need to do more work to get that out. So what are our next steps? We'll continue to work with the district advisory committee, students, parents, and groups on the themes that scored low to say how can we improve that. This is a baseline year though, so a lot of this is just new information. The more we keep going over it, I think the better we'll get at it, and we can also see with this baseline year, where did we start, where did we grow. The equity imperative, we're looking at revising the equity imperative with our district advisory committee, and again, increasing visibility, communication, and focus. The graduate profile, as I think Derek mentioned, and thank you for coming to our meeting the other day, we're producing a graphic that we're going to get out there. So we're going to kind of try to reboot that, make sure everybody's clear on what those are, and we'll get those out to our families as well. So kind of a ton of information, and if you need any help with that, you can let Leslie or myself know, because it's a little hard to navigate just on your own.
Wow.
Wow, see, that's it.
That's it.
There's no questions, sorry.
If I log in there, am I able to see the comments, or are those not visible?
The comments are not visible because they have like individual
Right.
teachers'
That's
names.
that was my
and
concern. So they
Chris
are
has
not.
mentioned in there negatively a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
We don't want everybody seeing that. So.
Didn't we just approve something?
So, but the principals are looking
Yeah,
at, but they're
okay.
going to take those comments, and when there's themes too, it's great because they can pull them out and share them with their staff.
Okay.
Oh, because that was one of my questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, anybody else? You have
I
some-
have
yeah.
one more. So
Trustee
as far as the comments, were we able to categorize those and put those in any organized themes in terms of what's going on?
I didn't ask our principals to do that, but I can.
Just areas of
Yeah,
concerns,
yeah,
just feedback
yeah,
in
we
terms
remember.
of, you know, where we're doing good, where we might need some improvement, those kind of things. And
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'd just be curious to see what everybody was hitting on in that. And then just around the communication, Leslie, kudos to you. That was a great increase in all of that. And I'm curious, what did you do to get that number up and so high? I'm not sure if that was email, if that was some sort of a packet or a PTA night, or maybe, well, I don't know. I don't offer food. I'm just curious, what did you do? Because that was one of the pieces that I was impressed with in terms of communication and outreach.
Thank you.
So it can be done.
I have to give a lot of credit to the principals who really embrace this. You know, without their partnership in doing this, we wouldn't have had the high student responses or the staff. One of the great things about using the Youth Truth Survey, there's a dashboard during when the survey is open, and it shows each school and how many students or staff are, you know, they have, and then how many have completed the survey, and it gives a result. Okay.
That was a competition.
So it was a competition, and so what I would do, I do a little screenshot and say, okay, here's where we are, or you know, with a couple of schools who are maybe kind of on the low, I said, here's what it is. You know, it's open for like another 5 days. Basically, I don't think that you want to be at this number when everyone else is over here. So, you know,
Okay, good.
You know, it was open for 3 weeks, and so it took some time, but it was also having that dashboard really helped to know where we were with our responses. And then as far as parents were concerned, you know, I just put it out there. And I think the school sites also put it out there in their newsletters, and then I emailed them directly.
Okay.
In PTA.
Well, thank you. I was impressed with that number.
Great. Anybody else? This is just a staff report. All right. Thanks, Jim, very much for presenting that and telling us what the next steps are, because that's important. This is the housing surveys that sort of went along with the Youth Truth.
This one we've had for a while, and we're pretty excited about this as well. So as you know, we have been working on the main reason for even looking into this is attracting and retaining talent. So we're not in the housing business, but we are in the attracting and retaining talent business, and it's all about making sure that we get the best teachers in front of our kids, which is becoming increasingly difficult to do, especially in math and science and Spanish. So any competitive advantage that we can come up with to help get great teachers, we are willing to do, and that's what started this conversation. So we've been looking at the, you know, a whole bunch of ideas and looking at the San Andreas property possibly, and talking to some neighbors and talking to the city of Novato to see if they'd be willing to partner with us. And so we gave the survey, and the city of Novato gave the same survey. So we really wanted to find out, is there a need for, we think there's a need for teacher housing, and we think that if we could provide some kind of maybe subsidized teacher housing, that they would jump on it, but we wanted to make sure. So again, this is all about providing the best teachers we can. I won't go through all that stuff, but you know, a lot of our teachers do live north of us, and we do know we have a hard time when we hire new teachers of not them being able to afford to live here. So getting into some of the responses, 57% said that of those interested in housing said that the inability to find affordable housing was one of the primary reasons that would influence their decision to leave NUSD. So I think when the question was, are you consider leaving in the next 5 years? And then it said, if so, why? And so this was the #1 response. That was above the, I think that was #1. I think salaries was #2, 3, but so that was the #1 reason why people were leaving. Interestingly. So then the second one, 63% or 130 respondents of those who said they would be interested in housing, again, are considering leaving within the next 5 years due to housing costs. So with that kind of verifies that yes, indeed, it's a problem. So who responded? So we had a total of 842 responses, a total staff. You can kind of see the breakdown there between teachers and probationary teachers, classified staff, and administrators. So we also found out that a lot of our people obviously are commuting, so 53% are traveling from 20 to 90 minutes one way. Most of them, 93%, drive alone. Why not live closer? Because obviously rental and home prices are too high, so that's 77%. So this was kind of the key one, because you answered a bunch of questions, and then on like number 12, it says, are you interested in subsidized housing? If no, then they just go to the end. That was it. So that was kind of interesting. So yes, 56% or 259 were interested, and then no was 44. And again, so then if you're interested, you continue on to ask more questions. So if you're interested, an NUSD developed a housing program offering high quality housing at affordable prices. How interested would you be? So again, yes, 85%, not sure, 15%. What about a purchase? So one of the problems is if we only offer lower rate rents for teachers, then so they stay here for 5 years and then they want to go buy a house, and then they're out of here. So yeah, we've been able to keep them for 5 years, but what if we could partner maybe with Habitat for Humanity or something and find a way to offer some of our teachers a way to actually purchase a home? So that's what this question was about. If NUSD was able to provide an affordable housing purchase option, how interested would you be? And you can see about half of 48% would be interested in that. No, the other 52% would not. So those are just some highlights. We have the whole, I think we included the whole survey in there. If not, we'll make sure that you can get it. So we have a meeting next week with the city. So they conducted their housing survey and received almost identical results that we have. Again, thanks to, it seemed like the Marin Community Foundation and the Haas Foundation. I don't know what we'd do without them, because those two, plus the city of Novato, have chipped in to fund a feasibility study. So the city of Novato had some money that they have aside for affordable housing. So I believe they kicked in $22,000, and I think the Haas and Marin Community Foundation kicked in like 23 each or whatever. Anyway, it was $66,000 to do a feasibility study, and we wanted to do that because before we go out to bid, there's some things we want to know. Is there some biology reports, some traffic study reports, some kind of those things that we're going to need to do anyway, and kind of get that going. So that's what the city is getting started on right now. It's a little out of our control, and they're going to be following up on that, but we'll be meeting with them to kind of check in on how that's going next week. We will continue on with community meetings and outreach meetings for March and June. We also continue to meet with developers. Yancey met with somebody last week. I'm meeting with a guy next week. So we want to make sure that we're doing outreach to developers, because we are assuming that when we go out for a request for quote or proposal in July or August, that we hope that we get a lot of interest in that. So, you know, we've been talking to Baja Build, we've been talking to big developers, maybe they'll do partnerships with Habitat for Humanity. There's a lot of affordable housing groups that they could work with. And the other thing that we were talking about is the need to kind of determine what kind of a financial model we want to use. So we will be discussing that with the board at an upcoming meeting, probably in May or maybe June, to kind of figure out what are the different options. I mean, some of this will probably involve market rate housing, and so how much market rate housing is going to be needed to help subsidize the other parts of the housing. We obviously don't want to use any general fund money for that, so there's well, not quite a few, there's probably 2 or 3 basic options that I want the board to consider about how we might fund it. And then again, we'll continue to work with our community, where eventually where we would go is if we go out for a request for a quotation and we select somebody to help design this, then we would work the community on what that design would be. So maybe they would come up with 2 or 3 different options of what that would look like. And then we'd go from there to try to make sure that we can get as much support from the community as we can. And so far, our outreach meetings with people primarily of the San Marino Improvement Association have been pretty positive. So that's where we are, and those are the next steps.
Trustee Scott, you have your light on, so I'm just assuming.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am about this. I think this is just so beneficial to the district, to teachers, and I know for myself, I'd like to look at, you know, possibly what other districts, I mean, maybe not in California, but maybe around the country might be doing in terms of, I'd like to see maybe a blended piece, one not only for our teachers, because I don't see all of our teachers using all of it, just especially with that survey, but also the market rate, you know, where we get a little bit of a blended piece so that we can have a revenue stream and either help take care of facilities or, you know, not have to cut programs when times get tough. So I'm very excited about this, very encouraged, and very appreciative of the city and the Haas Foundation for helping us with this. I'm just really encouraged, and I'm very excited, and I just can't wait.
Anybody else? Comments? No? Yeah. Ditto to what your comments were. I think we all are very excited, and you've put a lot of work into this.
Yes, thank you.
And we appreciate you taking your time and getting all the feedback. That's what works.
Yeah.
I do have a question.
No, we're done.
While you're standing there.
Gavel you. No, Trustee Cooper.
I missed it, didn't I?
Trustee Cooper.
No, not quite, Ross. Sit down. So is it the city that's handling the biological study and all those studies?
Yeah, there were I think 6 different elements of that, a biological study,
traffic, and they're just running with all those.
Yeah, they have the usual people that they deal with and stuff, so they're coordinating that.
Good, thank you.
So the last thing I'll say is just thanks to I would like to take all the credit myself, but I guess I should thank Leslie and Yancey because it really is a team effort, and the Marin Community Foundation also paid for Josh Townsend, so he's been helping us whenever we have meetings. He's helping us with communication, so it really is a team effort.
Thank you, team.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our meeting. Reminder to the board and the community next week is spring break. The district office will be closed, and obviously all of our schools will be closed. Our next 2 meetings are 2 regular board meetings. They are April 24th and May 8th. This meeting's adjourned.